It would happen only after the investigations had been completed and after committee members had agreed to it.
In some of these schools' cases, there appears to have been quite a religiously conservative tint to the school, but also quite good academic success. But it's not necessarily the case that a very religiously conservative school, even if that's been pushed there against the rules and against the law, necessarily leads to radical extremism.
The Ministry of Defence is investigating photographs which appear to show at least one UK serviceman posing over a dead Taliban fighter giving the thumbs up. The pictures were taken after an attack by insurgents on Camp Bastion in 2012, which left 2 Marines dead. A former British Army officer, Colonel Mike Dewar, says the photographs don't look good.
The MOD will clearly be embarrassed. They expect their soldiers to behave with a certain amount of dignity and decorum, and so the Ministry of Defence will be disappointed. That having been said, I think we need to keep this in context, and I certainly am not particularly surprised. It is, in my experience, the sort of thing that soldiers might do in battle, and I don't think it's too serious.
Across Birmingham, bags of green waste are being left out on the streets. It now costs £35 a year to have them collected, but people who haven't paid are still putting them out. The council says it can't afford to run the service for free anymore. Andrew Bird speaks for local councils about waste and recycling. He chairs the Local Authority Recycling Advisory Committee.
With budget pressures, local authorities are having to look at all their services, and basically anything that is non-statutory will come under closer scrutiny for looking at either making savings or wherever they can improve the budget position, and unfortunately garden waste falls into that category.
Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery is holding the largest ever exhibition of the works of an eccentric Englishman. Roland Emmett made fantastical machines and also drew cartoons. He lived in Birmingham for 30 years, and among his weird machines is a bicycle for cycling across the moon. Tim Griffiths is the founder of the Roland Emmett Society.
As a child, he used to tour his machines around the country, and I remember seeing them at Bingley Hall back in the 60s. I saw his much baking Holt there, and Emmett Land he toured, and that was in the toy department at Lewis's.
Sport and the Aston Villa manager Paul Lambert says managing the club this season has been hard, but he's achieved something by keeping them in the Premier League. Villa complete their season away to Spurs tomorrow, amid much speculation about the club's future ownership. We'll have the game live exclusively in FM here on BBC WM 95.6. Lambert says keeping Villa going in the Premier League this season has been very difficult.
It's hard. It's hard. But football is hard, and but my job was to keep everybody up there. That was my job, and I done it.
Cycling, and Birmingham-born cyclist Dan Martin, one of the leading contenders for the Giro d'Italia, is out of the race with a broken collarbone after crashing on the first stage. Martin, who grew up in the Midlands but represents Ireland, fell after hitting a manhole cover during last night's opening stage in Belfast. The Giro, or Tour of Italy, is second only to the Tour de France in the importance, and it lasts for 3 weeks. The weather, a blustery day with a mix of sunshine and showers. Some of the showers will be heavy, but with the strong winds, the bands of rain should blow through fairly quickly. The top temperature 15 Celsius, 59 Fahrenheit. Even windier tonight with the showers continuing. Mild though, temperatures down overnight to no lower than 7 Celsius, 45 Fahrenheit. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
You should take in other religions and treat them as you would want to be treated yourself.
We are even more intelligent. They treated me with the utmost respect.
Iain Lee, Saturdays
9 till 12.
BBC WM 95.6.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Thank you to Molly, as always, for an excellent show. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6. We've got... I say this sometimes and I don't mean it, so there's absolutely no reason why you should believe me. But man alive, we've got a packed show today that we really have this time. The Boy Who Cried Wolf, I know. Coming up later on, we'll be talking about horoscopes. You know, which one is astrology, isn't it? Where the stars are connected to how you live your life. All of that nonsense. It's gubbins, isn't it? Is there anybody listening who believes that the relationship of Mercury to Venus and whether it's near Uranus or not, has an impact on your life. I don't know, 5 minutes in and already. If that has an impact on your life, I don't get it. How can planets millions of miles away determine whether you're going to get a mysterious letter from a loved one through the door? What? If anyone can phone up and defend the astrology, or is it it's the astrology, isn't it? 03453 009956. We're also talking this morning about eating the placenta. Oh, there's a dirty, dirty boy who's ate his wife's placenta. I can't think of anything more disgusting. Should women be fighting on the front line? But before that, lads in dresses. What do you think? 03453 009956.
Have your say.
Across the West Midlands, call
03453 009956.
BBC WM 95.6.
Now, lads in dresses. Let me clarify it ever so slightly. There's been a story that was in the Mail yesterday. I think the story of young Romeo Morris, who's 5 years old, okay, and he went to a playgroup. And at the playgroup, he liked to dress up as 4 or 5-year-old boys do. He liked to dress up as a fairy or a princess or just in dresses. Now, the owners, the runners of the playgroup, it's a Christian playgroup. I don't know if there's a connection, but I'm saying it in case it has some relevance. The owners of the playgroup said, no, sorry, Romeo can't come anymore until he starts dressing in boys' clothes. So this poor lad can't go to his playgroup anymore because he likes to wear dresses. What's wrong with boys wearing dresses? Is there a problem with it? Can you see any problem with a 4, 5, 6-year-old boy wearing a dress? Maybe it's your boy. Or maybe it's your grandson. And they go to the dressing up box and they ignore the Woody costume, they ignore the Buzz Lightyear, they ignore the Spider-Man, and they go for the Snow White. Now, does that alarm you in any way whatsoever? Or actually, do you think, oh, come on. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. Do you think, come on, it's just kids. They're just having fun. They're just dressing up. Would you be, are you upset, offended, scared when your son, your grandson, wants to dress up as a princess, wants to dress up as Snow White, wants to pretend to be Cinderella? Are you worried about it? And if so, why? 03453 009956. Now, here's the confession from me, and I'm hoping that this will this will get some confessions from you. Got to be brave to do this. I used to wear a dress when I was a child. I had this great dress. I loved it. It wasn't even that nice. You compare it to the dresses kids have got these days. Man, it was kind of dowdy. But it was turquoise, a colour I can no longer stand. Turquoise makes me nauseous. I'll tell you why. Well, I was in assembly in middle school. I was 7 years old, and the girl in front of me I remember it as clear as day. The girl in front of me was wearing a turquoise cardigan, quite a chunky knit, and she just threw up. Just heaved up in the middle of assembly. So then I threw up. So now I associate turquoise with being sick. That's that. But this was before that horrific incident. I had a turquoise dress, and it was kind of like a tutu at the bottom, so it was a little bit frilly. And I used to love it. 4, 5, 6, maybe 7. I used to wear it. And prance around in it and pretend to be I've got no photos. Pretend to be a ballerina, or just wear it and do stuff. Just, play with my action men while I was wearing it. Not a problem. I think my mum and my dad thought it was a little bit funny. It was the 70s, hey, man. But there was not a problem with it. 03453 009956. Did you, as a child, this is for boys, obviously, ever wear a dress? And what did people say? The thing that gets me about this story is, at the age of 5, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know you're dressing up like a lady, do you? You're just wearing it because it's clothes. Well, Georgina Clark is the mum. I suspect her son's going to hate her in about 10 years' time when he sees all of the photos she's posted online of him. Georgina Clark's son Romeo, who is 5, owns nearly 100 dresses, but she says the organisers of the Buzz group at Rugby Christian Fellowship insist he must come in normal clothes. Well, Georgina has been telling our reporter, Rosie Eaton, what happened.
I went to take Romeo to his usual group on a Wednesday, just before the Easter holidays, and I was taken aside by the leader, and she said to me that they'd been talking and they had a discussion and that they decided that Romeo can no longer come while he's wearing princess dresses. He's to come in normal clothes, and then he'll be accepted for the gender that he is. I couldn't believe it. I said, really? Why? And she said, because it's upsetting the other children. And I said, it's upsetting them. And she said, well, it's confusing them because they don't know whether to call him a boy or a girl or what to call him. And I said, he's a boy that just likes to dress up and wear dresses. And she said, unfortunately, we're not prepared to let him come anymore as long as he keeps wearing the dresses. When she said it in earshot of Romeo, and he started crying. And he said, why can't I wear dresses? He was just really upset. And then Beck started talking to him and trying to explain to him in her way why he couldn't wear dresses, but he got really upset.
So just so I've got this straight, they said that you couldn't bring Romeo to playgroup anymore unless he stopped wearing dresses?
Yeah. He couldn't come in dressing up princess dresses anymore. He had to wear normal clothes. Even though there's not a uniform there. He used to love it because it's a different theme every week. They play games. Sometimes they do arts and crafts. And they have Bible stories at the end, which is really nice. I was just so surprised.
Do you feel like you understood their reasoning?
Not really. Not really. She said because it says a male on his registration form.
Yeah. And why does Romeo wear dresses?
He just loves he just loves to do it.
Don't really know, do we?
I don't know myself. It makes him happy. I've asked him. He said it makes me feel happy and free. He's got near enough 100, but not that I haven't brought them all for him. He's been given them. Some are hand-me-downs. A lot he's been given from friends. A lot I get from car boots and things like that. So if I didn't think I encouraged it, but then if I go to a car boot and I see something that I know he'd love, it's really hard not to buy it. It's really hard. I saw some ballet shoes and a tutu the other day, and I knew he'd love it because he loves ballet. And I nearly didn't buy it, but I did. I gave in and brought it. But high heels, children's plastic high heels, if I see those, and I just buy them for him now. Didn't used to, but I do now. He's got loads of dresses, hasn't he? And Kayla takes him shopping for dresses. He's got a big sister that takes him, because she says, I'll buy you a treat because you've been so good all week. What would you like? And he says, it's always the same, a new dress.
And do you think there's any kind of issue with a boy wearing dresses?
No, not really. No, I don't think so.
It all depends on the circumstances.
Yeah.
As well.
I don't think so. He's only 5.
Yeah.
Maybe when he's a bit older, yeah, but he's only 5. He doesn't even understand, does he?
Thank you, Rosie Eaton there, speaking to Georgina, Romeo's mum. So, simple question. 2 questions to start with, and this may expand in different directions. I have a few ideas of where I want the conversation to go, but as always with this show, we're kind of guided by you. The 2 questions I want to start with. Number 1, is there anything wrong with a boy wearing dresses? 03453 009956. Number 2, as a grown-up man, can you look back and say, honestly, do you know what? When I was 4, 5, 6, yeah, I wore dresses. Didn't do me no harm. 03453 009956. This is Iain Lee on BBC WM 95.6. I suspect it's going to be a sparky show today. It's 9:15. Let's get the travel news now. Here's Liz Saul.
Thank you very much, Ian. Good morning. It's looking rather congested in places this morning. Along the A45 around Bordesley Circus in Birmingham seems to have gotten quite heavy in the last half an hour or so. As you head along Hagley Road towards Five Ways Island, that's a bit busy as well. In Sutton Coldfield, the traffic lights still aren't working. On Four Oaks Road junction with Belwell Lane. Now, this is quite a busy junction along the A454. The main signal's being faulty, so just be very careful. And if you can update us further on that, then give us a call. I'll give you the number in just a moment. We are getting reports of an accident in Burton on Bellhouse Lane, the junction of the B5017. Police tell us they are on the way to the scene. Your match day travel, final weekend of it. Aston Villa are off to Tottenham Hotspur this afternoon. The M6 looking clear so far for your rundown there, and on to the M1 where we've had no reported delays so far. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 travel 08453 002288.
Ed Doolan on a Sunday.
This week we'll be commemorating 90 years of Tony Hancock with the help of his widow, Freddie.
And after 8 or 9 drinks, he thought, silly moo, I'd better stop doing this. And the following day, because it was only 8 or 9 drinks, he had no hangover, he felt great, but I couldn't leave the flat for 2 days.
And we'll be hearing from the great man himself.
I thought my mother was a bad cook, but at least her gravy used to move about.
Ed Doolan on a Sunday.
This Sunday from 12 on BBC WM 95.6.
03453 009956 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Boys wearing dresses, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. Is there a problem? Do you see a problem with it? I suspect some of you might. And I think I have an idea of why some of you might have a problem with it. Give me a call. Let's have a chat about it. And also, this is specifically to men, I guess. Did you used to wear dresses as a kid? Did it do you any harm? Let's go to Matt in Solihull. Morning, Matt.
Good morning. How are you doing? You have a great show again.
Thank you, Matt. We're only 15 minutes in. I guarantee this will be one of the best shows we've ever done. Did you used to wear dresses as a little boy?
Well, no. I will first talk about this little boy, and then I'll tell you my problem.
Problem, you say?
This little boy is wearing a dress. There's nothing at all wrong with it. It is a religious kind of a thing he's at. Wearing a dress is nothing, because the man that's to do with this religion, the Lord above, well, he always seemed to be wearing a dress as well, didn't he?
Oh, Matt, that's wonderful.
I never seen his trousers on him.
You always see men of faith, vicars and cardinals and all these kinds of people. They wear long dresses.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, when I was a child, growing up in Ireland, and there was about 11 or 12 of us in it, and we didn't have a lot of money, but we had an aunt in America who used to send parcels to us, clothes.
Yes.
Naturally, she used to get them from the neighbours there, telling her that her brother in Ireland had a family with a lot of kids, and he hadn't a lot of money, So anyway, I'll never forget, it was, lucky enough, it was winter time, and this parcel come for Christmas, I think, and my mother went through it, and she was seeing a pair of girls' knickers. Oh. So she said to me, well, there was holes in the bottom of my trousers, so she says, put them on. You couldn't say no, so I put them on anyway. But being cold, the school teacher didn't mind me at all with this on, because I wore my overcoat. But when the weather got a bit hot anyway, the other kids seemed to get a bit suspicious.
Oh.
Now, they didn't hurt my feelings by lifting the overcoat and playing with me, but they decided to play a game of piggyback, you see.
Yes.
And the older one was giving me a lift. And then I copped on a younger one round the back, peeping up under me overcoat
to see your girls' knickers you were wearing.
And the game was up. But after that, they didn't take any notice of me at all. And I went on till trousers come along, and my mother, I think she made one for me out of my father's trousers or something,
Well, there you go.
But I never forgot it,
No, and thank you for sharing that wonderful story with us, Matt. What a colourful childhood you had. 03453 009956. An email's coming. Ian, I wouldn't ever let my boy wear a dress. To me, the mother buying dresses and shoes, she's confusing him. And how about when he goes to full-time school where he has to wear a uniform? She's going to buy him a school dress? He'll be bullied. Well, the thing is, at 4, 5, 6, this boy's 5 years old. At 5, do they recognise they're wearing women's clothes? Do they understand that, society says you shouldn't wear these kind of things? It's just dressing up, isn't it? It's just playing. It's just fantasy. It's just, that looks pretty. Can I wear that? That looks nice, isn't it? 03453 009956. Darren is interesting there. He's worried that the boy is going to be confused by what the mother is doing by getting him to wear dresses. Well, the boy's choosing to wear dresses. And I'm just being told by producer Joe that the boy does go to school and he does wear uniform. He's not out and about in a dress all the time. He's just doing it because he likes... I don't know. Samuel's in Great Bar. Morning, Samuel.
Good morning, Iain.
Samuel, what would you like to say?
Well, it occurred to me when you were introducing the subject, I'm wondering if the mother has other children. It's just a thought that occurred to me. She may or may not. And the possibility that if, for instance, she didn't have other children or she didn't have any girl children, whether it's her dressing up her child in the way she wishes she could be doing if she'd wanted a girl. It's a thought that occurred to me, which may not apply.
Well, Samuel, let me put you at ease. She has got two older daughters. So she's got two daughters. So I would imagine that that wish is fulfilled in those two daughters.
And has she, as far as you know, got any other children that are boys?
That's it. Just the three. The two daughters and the boy. So a lot of these dresses are kind of hand-me-downs from the older girls.
Yeah. So
do you see a problem with it, Sam?
Sorry?
Do you see a problem with it? 5-year-old boy, he's wearing dresses. He's playing. He's having a laugh.
I do. I'll make the other point then, the other possibility then.
Yes.
That she doesn't want boy children and she only wants girls. But whatever that situation is, it's the formative years, very early, and it does... We have generally have a tremendous responsibility for guiding our children, especially very young children. If they go and put a hand in the fire, we explain to them it's not the thing to do.
But what you can't, Samuel, you can't compare a little boy dressing up as a princess to a child putting their hand in a fire. Why do you think it's so dangerous?
Well, the child can grow up then believing that that's the normal thing for a person to do, to dress up in, if you like, opposite sex clothes. And
why is that such a bad thing to believe in? Lots of people do it. Lots of blokes dress up as women. Lots of women dress up as blokes.
And how were they started off on that road?
I don't know. Maybe someone who is a transvestite could give us a call. 03453 009956. How did you start off on that road? But there's nothing wrong with that. If blokes want to wear dresses, you got a problem with that?
Hello.
Yes, hello.
But those who have grown up who have turned to perversion have still got responsibility for not turning children into perverts.
Are you saying, Samuel, that transvestites are perverts?
They have been perverted. However much is their choice and however much is other people's responsibility, you cannot abuse children in this way.
We're on two different issues. Let's focus on one for a second. Are you saying that grown men who choose to wear women's clothes are perverts?
Well, I'll admit that when an earlier caller mentioned about religious people, I don't know, vicars and so on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to support them wearing the stuff that they wear.
Yeah.
And it has been, it has been shown in certain things that Jesus shown as if he's wearing dresses.
But if men today wear dresses and women's underwear and some nice stockings, maybe some nice boots, does that make them a pervert?
Well, in the end, what an adult does in his privacy is between him and his conscience.
But is that perverted?
Well, if he starts causing children to follow that guideline.
Well, no, hang on. We're not talking about Samuel. We're not talking about transvestites forcing their clothes on children. I'm just trying to establish. Do you think that men who dress up as women are perverts? Yes or no?
I'm not going to judge them or condemn them.
Well, you did just imply that it was perverted.
Well, I think there's a lot of perversions. And the main issue today is talking about a vulnerable child who is entitled to have guidance from his carer.
Samuel, stay there. Terry's in Perry Bar. Terry, you wanted to say something.
Oh, that man is horrible. Get him off. How dare he infer that the cross-dressing is a perversion? If the child wants to wear a dress, let him be his natural self. Let him express himself. Is he inferring that the child will grow up to be homosexual? I'm sorry, but this man is making me fume. I cross-dress, mate, but I'm not a transvestite. I've got multicoloured bangles all up my arms. I wear multicoloured scarves that you would normally associate with a woman. I went to a dear friend's wedding a month ago in complete drag. Am I a pervert?
Well, Samuel, is Terry a pervert?
Well, the topic that you were inviting people to phone up about was the question of guiding a vulnerable
but Samuel, as you know,
I'm not going to get into.
No, Samuel, as you know, when you have a conversation down the pub, you don't start off with one question and 3 hours later you're still discussing that same question. This show is like a conversation down the pub. We start off at Springboard and it can go any way we want to. And we have now got to the subject of men dressing up in women's clothes. Terry says he does it. Do you think that Terry is perverted?
I'm also gay. Is that upsetting you as well?
Well, it's not upsetting me as long as you don't put it in my face. What you do in your private
people like you I'd avoid like the plague.
Yeah. Well, I think that as Iain, you're inviting people to express themselves, and you could have quite a feisty conversations or show. It is my belief that this country, guided partly by David Cameron, is becoming more and more and more perverted.
What's politics got to do with it? I'm a great believer in individuality.
And it is, and sir, it is an abomination before the Lord.
You are an abomination, and if you're going to drag Jesus into this...
It is an abomination.
Gentlemen, one at a time, 'cause it's hard to hear. Samuel, what are you saying is abomination? Are you saying that a fella in, a top he's got from Next and a pair of high-heel boots and a short skirt, that's an abomination?
Well, I believe that sort of thing is a thin end and a thicker end of the wedge.
Terry, you're
the gentleman has just said that admitted he is gay, and that is a perversion. It's an abomination.
Seriously, you're an abomination, mate.
I can't answer that. If I'm an abomination, I'm not on my own.
I said it is an abomination, not he is.
All right. Terry,
There's
Samuel...
a distinction. But going back to the child...
Yes, let's go back to the child.
We have a responsibility for guiding the children, and make sure of this, that we should know that we will account for how we guide that child. If that guide thinks it's a good idea to go around stealing money, and we say, that's his choice...
Who's stealing money? Who's stealing money?
So let me just slightly change the subject. Is freedom of expression a perversion then, and an abomination?
I'll say again, is
freedom of expression a perversion, an abomination?
So are you going to put any limit on that freedom of expression?
Yeah.
What a person does? Are you going to put any limit? I would like to drive cars that I can't afford. We'll go around stealing.
Samuel, you're talking about stealing, and a 5-year-old lad dressing up as Mary Poppins, it cannot be comparable to stealing. To a 5-year-old boy, it's a bit of fun. He's Mary Poppins, he's a princess.
I agree. The little child, it may come to no harm. But I'm telling you, if that mother is acting out her own wishes to have only girls...
Yeah.
And that child is guided in that direction.
One question.
I'm telling you,
Samuel.
that abuse of that child could end up in being terrible.
Samuel, one question, and then we're going to move on because I've got a guest coming up who knows more about this than I do, probably. Are you concerned that a young boy wearing dresses may grow up to be gay?
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed. 03453 009956. There we go. So, Terry, thank you as well for your call. Excellent stuff. So there we go. We got there in the end. Samuel is worried that a boy wearing a dress could grow up to become gay. I'm not going to comment on that. I'm going to throw that over to you. What are your thoughts? You agree with him? Do you disagree with him? 03453 009956.
Iain Lee.
On BBC WM.
95.6. The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
In a second, in a few minutes, we'll hear from the pastor from the playgroup that Romeo doesn't go to anymore. But before that, I want to speak to a guest. Claire Halsey is a child psychologist and parenting expert. Morning, Claire.
Good morning.
This gets people very uptight, and I'm surprised by that, because I genuinely thought we get a load of calls going, it's fine, let a boy wear a dress. I used to wear a dress when I was 4 or 5 or 6, and to me at that age, it wasn't, obviously it wasn't a sexual thing, it was just playing, it was just fun. Is there any damage in it?
Well, I think just going back to your previous point, it does create a very heated debate, doesn't it? And I think you're quite right to bring it back to this young boy in a certain situation who's, got a difficulty going to his play school because he's not dressing in the way that other children sort of expect him to. Experimenting with dressing up, it's not a harmful activity for children. It's a different way to explore the world, and we do promote dressing up, don't we? In lots of play situations as well. We get children to play with puppets and act out and dress their favourite characters from books and movies. So if it was problematic, then we'd have a lot of difficulties, wouldn't we?
A boy, let's just go back to the point that Samuel was concerned about. A boy wearing a dress at 5, that's not going to make him gay, is it?
No, of course wearing a dress doesn't make anybody anything. Whether a child develops to be, gay, not gay, transgender, that's a long process taking many years, and events at age 5 aren't going to determine one way or the other how they're going to end up when they start exploring their sexuality more fully, in their teens.
Do you think it would... I mean, I'm just trying to think, would it do any damage to a 5-year-old? I don't... I'm trying to think, my boys are 4 and 2, but I don't think even 5-year-olds would tease a boy for wearing a dress, would they?
Well, unfortunately, children sort of don't have that social filter necessarily that we might, that we do, as adults. And they will make comments. And, when I was thinking about this subject and listening to your previous callers, one of the main problems about this is the issue of bullying or teasing. But, of course, the way to manage bullying and teasing is to tackle it with the children who are making those comments. So to use this as an opportunity to teach other children that, we wear different things, we hold different beliefs, we look different, and that's great to have all those different things in our lives, and there's no judgment about them.
Is there a chance, Claire, and we'll hear from the pastor at the playgroup in a bit, is there a chance that being told he can't go to the playgroup because of what he's wearing could be more damaging? Well, I think
children of his age thrive on social activities and mixing with their peers. So I think if he gets other opportunities to socialise, then it isn't particularly damaging. But if this meant he was excluded from mixing with his peers, across the range, then yes, of course, that's going to limit his opportunities.
What does the parent do if the boy is adamant he wants to wear a dress, he likes wearing a dress, and he doesn't understand the furore around it? What's the best thing for a parent to do to kind of come down and say, no, you're not wearing a dress, to indulge them? What would you suggest? I mean, absolutely. If your child really wishes to wear a dress, supporting them, accepting them, and that sort of thing is the most advised course of action. We're there as parents to be our child's supporter and advocate. Of course, there are rules in this world. So, if you're going to the swimming pool, you need to wear bathers. I wouldn't expect, a child to jump in the pool fully clothed. So there are some rules. But obviously, if your child's got a preference, for certain, clothing and it fits in with school rules, so whether it's male or female, then, I would support them to do that. One of the things that does concern me about this story slightly is that the mum, I think they're going to go on Good Morning, This is Britain. I also have seen loads of pictures on the Daily Mail website of this boy dressed up. Mm-hmm. That could potentially be quite damaging, couldn't it? If not now, later on in his life. I mean, I think there's two ways to look at that. You could see this as highlighting an issue which needs to be discussed.
So it is highlighting the fact that we do need to accept, children in whatever way they wish to dress. So there's a positive and upside to this. But I think it's a fine line to say where do you stop and where does it become a debate between adults and fewer photographs of the child. So at this point it's hard to tell. It's certainly raised the issue, and as you can hear today, that's created a debate which hopefully will lead to a greater acceptance and understanding.
Claire, I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much. Claire Halsey, child psychologist and parenting expert. What are we talking about if you've just tuned in? It's a fascinating story that has already, 35 minutes into the show, got people hotter under the collar than I was expecting. A mum has been told her child can no longer attend his local church playgroup because he likes to wear dresses, princess outfits. He dresses up as a fairy. Nice sparkly dresses. Georgina Clark's son, Romeo, who's 5, owns nearly 100 dresses, but she says the organisers of the Buzz group at Rugby Christian Fellowship insists he must come in normal clothing. Well, Pastor Barry Killick is the senior minister at Rugby Christian Fellowship, and he told the BBC why they've made the decision to stop Romeo coming to playgroup in dresses.
Romeo's behaviour is associated with his dress. So you'll understand my saying we could not, because we have said to Romeo's mother, and by the way, it's the mother we're dealing with, and I hear all the interviews, some of the interviews, and I've read lots of them on the press and what have you. The mother has dressed Romeo from a very, very young age in girls' clothing. We're asking the mother, all of these kids who come to this group, i.e. most of them, all go to the same school as Romeo. They see Romeo dressed in boys' uniform. When he comes here and he's in girls' costume, they're confused, and I would say more than confused. It has caused difficulty, and that's why we're asking the mother, please, just dress him as a boy. We love him, we want him, we've dealt with him for a couple of years now. Please, and it's just a recent thing that this has happened, and that's it's caused me a little bit of heartache.
OK, so there you go. That's the pastor explaining why he doesn't want Romeo to come to the playgroup anymore. It's confusing. It's confusing him. It's confusing the other kids there. I don't necessarily buy that. I don't see where the confusion comes from. I don't have a problem with it. My boys, they're 4 and 2. If they wanted to wear dresses, yeah, fine, go and wear some dresses. Dress up as a princess, dress up as a fairy, fine, play, enjoy yourself, explore your imagination. As I've said, we've not had anyone phoning in yet, coming over to my side of the fence. I, as a young child, used to wear a dress. I had a turquoise blue thing that was kind of like a tutu at the bottom. It was frilly, it was very pretty. Did you? If you're a bloke now, come on, phone up and admit you used to wear a dress. We had one fellow who used to wear girls' knickers. That was a necessity. 03453 009956. Let's go to Dave. Morning, Dave.
Morning, Ian.
Dave, what would you like to say?
Well, the main thing must be the reaction the young kid gets off other kids in the school and people in general. I mean, we're well aware of how nasty and horrible kids are and can be to other kids.
Yeah.
You know, and if he's going to get picked on and, you know, end up with a complex, you know, being called names and, you know, and possibly spat at or whatever, you know, I mean, it's ultimately what's going to happen to the lad.
Supposing, Dave, OK, let's assume there is bullying, which we don't know. Supposing he's all right with the bullying. Supposing he doesn't care about it. He's not said he doesn't want to wear dresses. He's still saying he wants to wear them. So where's the problem there?
Well, yeah, you see, it's all right him saying that, but is he going to feel the same, God forbid, if he gets beaten up? You know, if some kids, a gang of kids, decide to have a laugh with him and, you know, I mean, the implications are very serious, I think.
But at 5 years old, I don't know if you've ever been to a playgroup, Dave, but at 5 years old, then it's not going to be gangs of kids getting together and beating him up. They'll be arguing over who gets to play with the digger. They'll be arguing over who gets to read the spot book, and that'll be it. They're supervised constantly. Him getting beaten up in that context, I don't think is a possibility.
No, but what I'm saying is if he's doing this now,
yeah,
and he carries on doing it, you know, because as I said already, you know,
okay, so you're talking about when he's older. Okay, but he might.
Yeah,
just
but you're a dad, Ian.
Yes,
and you must realise and worry about your lads being picked on.
Of course I do, yeah.
You know, and, I mean, the lad ain't going to be able, presumably, the lad ain't going to be able to defend himself, you know, and then you've got possibly the other parents of the kids making snidey remarks about him.
What if he grows out of it? I grew out of wearing my turquoise dress when I was about 7.
Well, yeah, but it's a bit too late to you know, turn your face and go the other way if you've been beaten up or, you know, you've been left with a complex because of the names kids and dare I use the word grown-ups possibly say to him.
Dave, did you never wear a dress when you were a kid?
No. The only thing I remember wearing, and it was just purely for play, I wore a pair of one of my sister's high heels.
There we go. You see? No, what? So you wore
Yeah,
a pair of high heels just for play. So where's? Did you get bullied? Did you get beaten up?
Yeah, but I only did it in the privacy of in the privacy of the home. I didn't do it outside.
I had this turquoise dress. I've just remembered as well. How camp is this? I had a feather boa. What were my parents thinking? I pranced around in a blue dress and a feather boa, Dave. And look at me. I'm married. I've got 2 kids. I'm all right.
Well, yeah, you see,
I survived.
Yeah, but people are people should be allowed to do whatever they think.
Yep.
You know, within the law. But it ain't what the kids think and what they want to do. In most cases, it's a reaction they are going to get.
OK, Dave, thank you very much. 03453 009956. I had a feather boa. Man alive, how glam was I? Adorable. Really keen as well. We spoke to Samuel earlier on. I'm really keen to speak to a transvestite, a fully grown man transvestite, to find out kind of where that started. Because Samuel's concern was that by a boy wearing a dress, he'll either grow up to be gay or he'll grow up to be a transvestite, or both. And he kind of said they were both perversions. He's coming from a strong religious background. I don't buy that, and I'm sure a lot of you don't buy that. Blokes wearing women's clothes, is that... It's not perversion, it's a lifestyle choice. Why do we place so much importance on gender-specific clothes? It's always struck me as odd. 03453 009956. Brian's in Bartley Green. Morning, Brian. What would you like to say?
Morning, Ian.
Go on, Brian.
Well, I think there are perverted that wear women's clothes.
The grown men who wear women's clothes are perverted?
Yes, I agree with Sam. He didn't say, but I think they're perverted.
Why do you think that?
Because they are... First of all, I would like to say that teachers shouldn't be teaching kids to wear dresses at 4 and 5.
I don't think...
Now, I know you wore them at 4 and 5 and you got out of it at 7,
yeah.
But a lot of people wouldn't. And they turn out to be the other way. They turn out to be bad character, I think.
So
anyway.
hang on, let's just get this right. First of all, the teachers don't want the boy to dress up. The people who run the playgroup, that's why they've barred him, because they don't want him to dress up. It's the mum who's encouraging it. And you're concerned that the young boys who wear dresses could turn the other way. You mean gay?
Yes.
Because they wear dresses?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, how would that work?
They're not... I don't think they're a full 2 bob, I don't, when they start wanting to put stockings on and high heels and dresses.
This is men we're talking about
now? Yes, men and young boys.
Well, but why would why would a 5-year-old boy wearing a dress, why would that turn him gay?
I'm not saying
most gay men, Brian, most gay men don't cross-dress.
Oh, no, well... We don't know that, really, There's a lot of gay men that probably do.
Well, there are a lot of gay men that probably do, but I can say pretty much confidently that the majority of gay men do not cross-dress. So why would a young boy wearing a dress make him gay?
Well, not make him gay, I never said that.
Turn him gay.
I just said there's something it's not quite a full 2 bob to want to start putting dresses on at the age of 5 and 6.
Brian,
as little as young as that.
He's a boy.
It sounds to me as you're trying to justify yourself for wearing a dress up to at the age of 7.
I don't have to justify anything.
Of course you don't have to justify yourself.
I don't have to justify anything.
But it sounds that you want confirmation off other people that it's okay.
I don't. Listen, I'm not worried about me wearing a dress at 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got no question marks over it. I was a boy. I enjoyed dressing up and playing. There was nothing sexual about it. There was nothing homosexual about it. To me, it was just a nice thing to wear.
Yeah. Well, I can see that.
So why is your problem with other young lads?
Because I think they're not a full 2 shilling. I think, like, I mean, I know thousands of people, literally thousands of people I've worked in care on. I've got tons and tons of mates, and every one of them would agree with me. I don't think kids, and I don't know how they teach kids in school now, but if they start teaching kids it's all right to wear a dress at 5 and 6, you know, like, I mean, there's a thing about, like, boys shouldn't wear, you know, if girls want to buy a gun and a boy wants to buy a doll, I think the world's going downhill.
Brian, stay there, because I've got to get the travel now, but I will come back to you in a second. Oh, gosh, and we pause for breath at 9:45 on BBC WM. Let's get the latest travel with Liz.
Thank you very much, Ian. As you make your way to Sutton Coldfield, the traffic lights still aren't working properly as you head along Four Oaks Road to Belwell Lane. It's a rather busy junction along this stretch of the A454 and the signals are faulty, so just be very careful around there. As you head to Anslow Gate, we're getting reports of an accident on Bellhouse Lane at the B5017. Police still on the way to the scene near to Burton. Not too bad in and out of Birmingham currently. It's eased off around Bawdsley Circus for the moment and the A45. Expect a bit of congestion in the Sutton Coldfield area anyway, by the way. At Sutton Park, there's a 10k race getting underway in a little under 15 minutes' time, so several hundred runners will be taking part, so quite a bit of traffic in that area because of that event. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 Travel 08453 002288.
Middleton, Mile Moseley,
Oldbury,
Pattingham.
Have your say across the West Midlands.
BBC WM
95.6.
We're having an interesting discussion about a young lad. He's 5. He's been banned from his local Christian playgroup because he likes to wear dresses. What's the problem? 03453 009956. Now, Brian, we were talking to you before. You think that it is disgusting for young boys to wear dresses?
Well, it was banned from his playgroup, and I agree with the ban. Okay. Because first of all, like, there's going to be other kids there. Like, yeah. It may influence, I don't know, I can't say that. They're 5 or 6 or whatever age they are, and they may think it's all right if the teacher allows it, or the priest allows it, or whatever group he's in. But at the same time, like the priest says, he could get bullied, or the man before, he could get very well bullied for that.
You're also concerned, Brian, that that he might grow up to be gay or a perverted transvestite.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
yeah.
Jan's in King's Heath. Jan, you'd like to have a word with Brian, would you?
Not particularly.
Go on, what do you want to say?
No, I just...
That's a do-gooder if ever I heard one.
Sorry, no. People do get heated about funny things, I think. Does anyone remember David Beckham in a sarong?
Not really.
Yeah, I remember that. He wore a sarong, didn't he? Yes. It looks like a skirt.
And in many places in the world, women wear trousers and men wear robes. And it's just a cultural thing, so I think that's fine.
That's not cultural.
And
it's not cultural in this country for boys to wear dresses.
Oh, well,
you know.
I've seen lots of Muslim men wearing...
But that's Muslims. I'm not talking about Muslims. They want to wear dresses. They wear dresses. That's how they do it.
Hang on, Brian. Let Brian...
wear dresses.
Brian,
but they don't wear dresses,
Brian, let Jan finish.
Yes, I will.
Then you can come in. Go on, Jan. Sorry.
I just think to ban a child from playgroup for hitting other children or for making racist remarks or something would be reasonable, but how a person looks, how they dress, is so much less important than their behaviour. And this is a good boy. His mother was saying what a good boy he was, and I just think that's the most important thing of all.
Isn't that the most important thing, Brian?
No, I don't think so. I'm sorry.
You think his dress?
I can't agree with you.
You think the way he dresses is more important than his behaviour and his hunger for knowledge?
He may well behave, but like he's being encouraged. If you let him there, he's being encouraged by the adult to it's okay to wear the dress. I'm not. It could be the loveliest, nicest lad. You know, like when you said you wore a dress. Yeah. I mean, you sound a nice guy.
I'm all right.
And I mean, you was about 7 when you put it away. But like, I don't think you should encourage 5-year-olds to wear dresses at school or play school.
Jan, Brian,
I'm sorry, Iain. That's just my opinion.
That's what you think. Jan, Brian is concerned that a young lad dressing up at the age of 5 might become gay or a perverted transvestite. What are your thoughts on that?
My best friend is transgender, male to female transgender, and one of the loveliest people and one of the most loyal friends. And to, homophobia, isn't it a bit sort of dinosaurish? I think so anyway. It's about time people got over these things.
Well, no, why should we? Sorry to interrupt. Why should we get over these things?
Brian, let Jan finish. Come on, she's been very polite. You can come back. Let Jan finish. Go on, Jan.
Yes, I just think there are so many more things to get upset about. And, in the world, there's some terrible things being done. For example, the Nigerian schoolgirls who've been taken and, that kind of evil. And people just get so worked up about things that I just don't think are worth or right even getting worked up about.
Brian, you can come in now.
Yes. Well, I think they should get worked up about them because, I don't agree with the government now making gay marriage. I don't like to see two men getting married. I don't like the thought of children having two men as parents.
Okay, we're going off on it, Brian. We're going off.
Child having two women as parents, a lot of people agree with me. And I'm sorry to get at your last caller.
Yes,
but there is lots of things to worry about.
Brian,
but that's a concern of a lot of people.
Brian, I don't want to. We've done gay marriage. I don't want to go down there. One final question, Brian. Have you never, ever been tempted to put on a little skirt to see what it feels like?
No,
You've never been tempted to try and walk down some stairs in high heels?
No, I have not.
You've never been curious?
No,
I've done it. I've done it as a
sister, and she had dresses all over the house.
Yeah, I've done it as a grown man. I've worn women's clothes as a grown man. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, but what have you done? Gone to a fancy dress or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, yeah, but that's okay.
I was curious to know what a skirt felt like. Have you ever been curious as a man to know what it feels like to wear a skirt?
Definitely have not, no.
Brian, thank you very much. Come on, most men, you must have been, even if you've not done anything, you must have been at least curious to know what it feels like to wear a skirt. Let me tell you, it feels really, really weird. And high heels. I have so much respect for women that wear high heels. A, because they look great, thanks. But they're the most impossible things to walk in. How do you walk? Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jen. How on earth do you walk in high heels without breaking your ankles? Let alone walking downstairs. Flipping it, running for a bus. 03453 009956.
BBC WM
95.6.
Sally's in Wolverhampton. Morning, Sally. Oh, Sanjay. I do apologise. My eyes are going. I'm getting old. Sanjay.
Yeah, that's just my weekend name.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. It's kind of appropriate with what we're talking about. Sanjay,
absolutely. Yeah,
what would you like to say?
No, you know what? The world's changing. It's evolving. Myself. Okay, yeah, a bit old school. Men should wear, trousers, women dresses. But in the day, let the kids do what they want to do. It's their part of growing up. Let them experiment. It's not a big issue, and it doesn't mean they're going to turn out gay or they're going to be, cross-dressers, whatever. I think I do agree a little bit about. Sorry, what was the last caller's name? Who was having a bit of a rant.
Oh, yes, I forgot his name already.
I do think that he may get a little bit picked on by the kids at school.
Yep.
Kids. I have a slightly elder one, but a younger one as well. And, kids can be nasty on the playground. But
of course they can.
You know what? Bottom line is, if he's happy with it, 5 years old, let him experiment, let him carry on it. There's no problem with that whatsoever. They'll hopefully grow out of it. You know what? When my little one was younger, he wanted a doll. We got him a doll. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And I think it's just a generation gap where people think that men should be men, women should be women, or boys should be boys, girls should be girls. But like I say, times are changing. And Jan brought it up earlier. No problem with David Beckham wearing a sarong.
Yeah.
When he was there. I just think some of the callers you're getting on, it's a bit of old school mentality.
Sanjay, you ever done it? You ever worn a skirt or a dress or a blouse?
Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. I've actually got a picture of me when I was younger in a dress.
There we go.
Not off by my own choice. I'm not ashamed to do it, And again, Janet experiments. There's cultures of the world who do wear long robes like dresses. As an Asian myself, we wear something similar, but it does have trousers to the bottom of it. But you know what? It's so liberating wearing it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, So fair play to the kid's mum, letting him go like that. A lot of parents wouldn't do it. I wouldn't personally do it like that, but hats off to her.
Sanjay, thank you very much indeed. I'm just moving on because lots of phone calls. Sanjay's gone, so there's a line free now, so give us a call. But let's go to Derek. Morning, Derek.
Good morning.
Derek, what would you like to say?
I've got to agree with the other guy who went on about it. Maybe I'm a bit naive and I don't, these if the kid's 7, I don't know anybody. The other kids must be taking them.
Well, listen, the kid in this story, Romeo, is 5 years old.
And by the way,
yes,
I always wanted to be Hopalong Cassidy, Flash Gordon, or someone else. And I'd like to get a psychologist on as regards you dressing in a dress at 7 years old. I wonder what a psychologist would make up of that.
I would imagine, I make up that a psychologist would say, oh, that's just a young boy just playing.
Yeah, well, 7 years old, you've got a bit of a character about you, so if it was like 2, possibly, but 7 years old, as I say, I always wanted to be Robin Hood, Flash Gordon, Hopalong Cassidy, or someone else, but I can't understand it. And that woman who, come on,
yeah,
as regards, it's, the cultural thing, these, people who get on, these bleeding hearts, liberal,
So, Derek, just go running.
I don't like women going on about their cultural what's it. This is Saxon, Norman, Viking,
so Derek,
England.
Derek, just because we're running out of time.
It ain't a Muslim country.
Derek, calm down. We're running out of time. So let me just, if I can summarise, you are you against men dressing up as women, and you're against what? I'd imagine you're against transgender people as well, are you?
No, if they want to do, I'd be laughing. I would. I've seen one of them once in Sutton Coldfield.
Well,
walking through.
Derek, say that.
I
Derek,
burst out laughing. Got a beard,
Derek, flipping it. Derek,
stuff of a beard,
Derek,
a dress on.
Derek,
I couldn't believe it.
Derek,
I was in stitches.
Derek, just calm down. Let's speak to Alex Drummond. Morning, Alex.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you very much. We've only got a few minutes, I'm afraid. But Alex, very briefly, tell me and tell Derek your story.
Well, Derek, I see was going to pop a blood vessel, bless him. I'm a transgender woman, so I transitioned to live. Just bear with me 10 seconds. I'm just on an interview with West Midlands Radio. I'll be in 2 seconds.
Yeah, shut up. I'm on the radio. Shut up.
This is the world. This is the world of transgender. So I'm doing some work with Channel 4 today to promote awareness of transgender, and I think this actually is very pertinent in terms of your discussion today.
So, Alex, just summarise. Sorry, so you've gone from being a man to being a woman.
Well, I was denoted male at birth. So when I was born, people thought I was a boy and described me as a boy and raised me as male. But actually, I've always been female. And so later in adult life, I've actually transitioned now to live full time as a trans woman.
And how difficult was that transition, emotionally, physically, in terms of relationships?
Well, it was very challenging in the context of a society that's been very rigid about gender. Now, back in the 1980s, we had a feminist movement that said, because there was a time, when women had to be very rigidly defined in their roles and men in theirs. And in the 1980s, we started to have women coming into traditionally male roles. And we widened the bandwidth of what they could do. But there were still very kind of strict rules about what men could do. So that as society changes, it becomes easier. I mean, I transitioned about 4 years ago, and in the past 3 or 4 years, there's been a significant sea change and much greater acceptance of different gender identities and a wider bandwidth, and getting away from that very kind of primitive caveman model to a much more contemporary model of equality and diversity.
And I'm sorry to rush you on, Alex, we're really close to time, but when you hear people like Derek talking like this, how does that make you feel?
Well, no, I mean, I understand, Derek was coming from a particular time of education and hasn't been exposed really to diversity. I think what's really important in terms of this young child, the child is 5. The child is trying to find their identity. Nothing is cast in stone. But to say to girls, you know your place, wear pretty dresses and look pretty for men, and to say to men, you must be manly, it's just horrible in the 21st century. Let's widen the bandwidth. Let's take away this idea that you can discriminate against people on the belief about their genitals and actually go, what interests you as a person, what do you like as a person, what's your traits as a person, and let's not be interested in the genitals, let's look at people as human beings.
Derek, you've got 30 seconds to respond.
Well, he's going on, I know there's homosexuals, fair enough, they're there.
She's going on, yes.
And transvestites, as I say.
Yeah.
I seen one in Sutton Coldfield, walking through, got a stubble, with a dress on, I was laughing.
No, Alex is a transgender woman. What's your reaction to what she was just telling us?
Well, it ain't normal, is it?
Alex,
I mean,
Alex,
they do it because it ain't normal.
Yeah.
Alex, you ain't normal, love.
No, well, and the thing is that it is actually much more normal than Derek realises, and you know, the world is changing, Derek. You know, but bless you, there's we've got a lot of work to do, but we're seeing many more people coming out as transgender now. We're seeing many people breaking the binary of what's male and female, and that can only be a good thing. So we're working towards a fairer and more equal society where we can tolerate and understand and accept each other's differences. That's got to be a good thing.
Alex, thank you for squeezing in. I'm sorry to cut you short. Good luck with your filming. Derek, thank you very much. 03453 009956. Well, hasn't this expanded in an hour? We've gone from a young lad dressing up as a fairy at playgroup to transgender, transvestite, all kinds of things. More coming up.
With full commentary of every Warwickshire cricket game this summer, exclusively online, bbc.co.uk/WM.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
It's just gone 10 o'clock. Let's get the latest news now with Nicole Pullman.
The chairman of the House of Commons Education Select Committee, the Conservative MP Graham Stewart, says it's almost certain they'll investigate the so-called Trojan horse claims in Birmingham schools. The City Council, Ofsted and the Department for Education are already looking into claims that Muslim hardliners have been trying to take over some schools in the city. But Mr Stewart told the BBC this morning that an inquiry would happen only after those investigations had been completed and when committee members had agreed to it.
In some of these schools cases, that appears to have been quite a religiously conservative tint to the school, but also quite good academic success. But it's not necessarily the case that a very religiously conservative school, even if that's been pushed there against the rules and against the law, necessarily leads to radical extremism.
The Ministry of Defence is investigating photographs which appear to show at least one UK serviceman posing over a dead Taliban fighter, giving the thumbs up. The pictures were taken after an attack by insurgents on Camp Bastion in 2012, which left 2 Marines dead. A former British Army officer, Colonel Mike Dewar, says the photographs don't look good.
The MOD will clearly be embarrassed. They expect their soldiers to behave with a certain amount of dignity and decorum, and so the Ministry of Defence will be disappointed. That having been said, I think we need to keep this in context, and I certainly am not particularly surprised. It is, in my experience, the sort of thing that soldiers might do in battle, and I don't think it's too serious.
Bags of green waste are being left uncollected on pavements across Birmingham. The council says it can't afford to run the service for free anymore and is now charging £35 a year to have it collected. But people who haven't paid that are still putting it out. Andrew Bird speaks for local councils about waste and recycling. He chairs the Local Authority Recycling Advisory Committee.
With budget pressures, local authorities are having to look at all their services, and basically anything that is non-statutory will come under closer scrutiny for looking at either making savings or wherever they can improve the budget position, and unfortunately garden waste falls into that category.
Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery is holding the largest ever exhibition of the works of an English eccentric. Roland Emmett made fantastical machines and also drew cartoons and lived in Birmingham for 30 years. Among his weird creations is a bicycle for cycling across the moon. Tim Griffiths is the founder of the Roland Emmett Society.
As a child, he used to tour his machines around the country, and I remember seeing them at Bingley Hall back in the 60s. I saw his much baking Holt there. And Emmett Land he toured, and that was in the toy department at Lewis's.
Sport and the Aston Villa manager Paul Lambert says managing the club this season has been hard, but he's achieved something by keeping them in the Premier League. Villa complete their season away to Spurs tomorrow amid much speculation about the club's future ownership. We'll have the game live exclusively in FM here on BBC WM 95.6. Lambert says it's been tough.
It's hard. It's hard. But football is hard, and but my job is to keep everybody up there. That was my job, and I done it.
Cycling, and Birmingham-born cyclist Dan Martin, one of the leading contenders for the Giro d'Italia, is out of the race with a broken collarbone after crashing on the first stage. Martin, who grew up in the Midlands but represents Ireland, fell after hitting a manhole cover during last night's opening stage in Belfast. The Giro, or Tour of Italy, is second only to the Tour de France in importance, and it lasts for 3 weeks. The weather a blustery day with a mixture of sunny spells and scattered showers. Some of the showers will be heavy, but with the strong wind, the bands of rain should blow through fairly quickly. The top temperature this afternoon, 15 Celsius, 59 Fahrenheit. Even windier tonight with the showers continuing. Mild though, temperatures overnight no lower than 7 Celsius, 45 Fahrenheit. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
The Voice. The Voice. The Voice. The Voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
You should take in other religions and treat them as you would want to be treated yourself.
We are even more intelligent. They treated me with the utmost respect.
Iain Lee, Saturdays
9 till 12.
Wow.
BBC WM 95.6.
I'm enjoying it today. I'm enjoying it because it's quite feisty. I like it when it's feisty. I think you do too, don't you? Come on. Yes, you do. What a great way to start a Saturday. People arguing. Come on. And you're doing it very well this morning. Lots to talk about. We're going to carry on talking about this young lad, 5-year-old boy, been banned from his local playgroup because he wears dresses. The Christian playgroup has said, he can't come if he's going to wear dresses. We started off with the simple, is it okay for boys to wear dresses? I'm surprised by the anger that some of you feel about this. Some of you are worried that he'll grow up to be gay or a perverted transvestite or, heaven forfend, a transgender person. So there's that. I'm asking, have you ever worn a dress? I used to wear one when I was a little boy. No high heels when I was that age. But, I used to wear a dress. What's your problem? 03453 009956. I would love to speak. We've spoken to Alex, who's a transgender woman. I'd love to speak to you if you are a transvestite. How is this conversation making you feel? What are you hearing? What are you learning? If you want to have your say, keen to know how you kind of got into it as well and how you discovered that, hey, you like wearing women's clothes. 03453 009956. We'll also in this hour be talking about eating placentas. Oh, really? Have you ever done it? We toyed the other week, didn't we, with the idea of drinking breast milk as a grown-up. But eating placentas, even the thought of it is making me nauseous. You can give us a call on that. And also, should women be allowed in the front line in battle? If you want to take part in the show, you can give me an email, ian.lee, IAIN.LEE at bbc.co.uk. But by far the best way to get in touch is by giving me a call, 03453 009956.
Have your say.
Across the West Midlands, call
03453 009956.
BBC WM 95.6.
David's emailed in, Ian, only religious people would bully a little boy who wears different clothes. Maybe the little boy has seen many pictures of Jesus. Jesus didn't wear trousers, did he? And I bet some of the girls and women wear trousers and no one says anything about that. Well, the point about Jesus, yeah, fine, he wore what, if the pictures are to be believed, what looked like dresses. In hot countries, men often do. The trouser thing doesn't quite work. A few people have mentioned that. The trouser thing on girls doesn't quite work because trousers are non-gender specific. Men and women can wear trousers and have done for a long time. It's not the same with dresses. They are specifically viewed as women's clothing. Who's been there? Diane's been there for ages. Sorry, Diane.
Hi.
I've kept you waiting for ages. I do apologise. What would you like to say?
Yeah, this little boy in the nursery.
Yes.
I don't think there's a problem with him wearing women's clothing. I think he should be kept at home.
Why should it be kept at home?
Because it's portraying an image. It's bringing all sorts of attention, unwanted attention there.
What image is it portraying?
It's well, the fact of his mother buying him the clothes and allowing him to wear it outside is telling him that this is okay.
Why?
I don't think it's okay.
Why do you not think it's okay?
Because he's going to grow up thinking, I can wear women's clothes. I don't think... In society, there's things that we should be able to do and shouldn't be able to do. And by his mum buying him these clothes and other people telling him that, yeah, it's okay for you to wear it, it's going to bring on all sorts of unwanted attention.
There are two things you've raised here, if I may, Diane.
Yeah.
The first one is he's only 5.
Yeah.
He's only playing.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. Surely at some point, I don't want to use the phrase grow out of it, but at some point he will become aware that generally women wear dresses and generally men wear, jeans and trousers and things like that. So he will become aware of that naturally, won't he?
Hopefully.
Okay. And the second point that you kind of got me scratching my head a bit, why is it wrong for men to wear dresses if they want to?
Well, we have to look in society on the norms.
Why?
The norm is women wear women's clothes.
Yeah.
And men wear men's clothing.
Yeah. But why does that... yes, you're right, that's the norm. But why, if I wanted to wear a slinky little black number with some high heels, if I choose to do that, it doesn't make me a pervert, does it?
I don't think it makes you a pervert, but I don't think it's right.
Why not? I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just trying to investigate this. Why do you think it's wrong for blokes to wear women's clothes?
In society, it's acceptable more now, I can see.
Yeah.
But that is one thing that I don't think should be acceptable.
Tell me why. I'm going to keep pushing you, Diane, because I'm keen to know why you think it's unacceptable.
Because there's right ways of doing things and there's wrong ways of doing things, and...
OK, but why do you perceive that... let's talk about me. Me wearing a dress and a pair of black stockings and maybe some nice silky panties and a pair of black high heels. Why is that wrong?
It's wrong to me. To you, if that's what you want...
But why? And I know you said it's wrong and it's not society's norms and all those things, but I want to try and get to why you feel that it's wrong.
Well, I'm speaking from a religious background.
OK.
Yeah. And also my professional background.
What's your professional background?
Caring for children.
OK.
Yeah.
Why is your professional background caring for children, why should that have any concern as to what I choose to wear?
Because... if I'm caring for children and we're doing dressing up today, I'm not going to say to a little boy, no, don't put on that dress, you're a boy, go and put on a soldier's uniform. It's freedom of choice.
Yes.
Yeah? He's playing, he's learning, he's exploring.
But so why should me in a little black number with some stockings, why should that have an impact on your profession as someone who cares for children?
Because you've gone past exploring and learning.
Right.
Yeah, so...
I'm not a danger to those children, am I?
No, you're not. You're not. But it's bringing about, like you walking down the street in your slinky little women's number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, Diane, when I'm wearing it, I'm looking hot.
There you go.
I am looking hot.
Yeah, and now that you probably even look hotter than me.
Yeah, that's what you're worried about. You're jealous.
I'm not worried about that.
Oh.
You may get the wolf whistles, yeah.
Beautiful.
But you will also attract the companies of other people that. Why is he wearing that? You know, he should be wearing that.
But that's their problem. If I'm, and I don't do this, by the way, but if I'm confident doing that, that's their problem if they've got an issue with it.
Yeah, that is true. You are perfectly right. But there's things in life that, if you can do it without bringing attention to yourself, unwanted attention to yourself, then surely that's what you'd want to do.
Diane, thank you. Thank you, Diane. Wouldn't it be dull if we lived in a world where people didn't bring attention to themselves? That's what makes this world so special. The fact that some people, not necessarily me, but some people want to bring attention to themselves. That makes it all the more special, doesn't it? Ronnie's in Solihull. Morning, Ronnie.
Oh, nice.
Ronnie, what would you like to say?
I went to, it's like 3-4 years ago, I went to Glastonbury with my family, and we all decided for the night. Well, we got there in the afternoon, so for the night, what we'd all do is we'd all dress up as like gangsters and moles.
Beautiful.
Yeah, right. Of course, I left it too late.
Uh-oh.
All right, and I couldn't get a gangster's outfit, so I dressed as a mole.
Hey, what were you wearing, Ronnie?
The whole thing, mate. Little flapper skirt, beads, blonde wig, little headdress, makeup, high heels.
Beautiful.
A lot.
Yeah.
Right. And it was really, really hot, which was unusual for Glastonbury, but it was really, really hot.
Yeah.
All right.
You weren't hot. The weather was hot.
Oh, both.
Okay.
Mate, both.
Yeah. Good lad.
Both, trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And it was only supposed to be for the one night, but the weather was so hot, so I kept it on for the 2 days we was camping there.
Wearing a skirt is very... How can I put this delicately? It's very cooling on the downstairs department, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You get a breeze up there.
Definitely. I mean, I pulled... I was there with my fiancée. I pulled. We was all standing there dancing in front of the stage. This guy just came out and gave me the biggest kiss in the world.
Yeah.
Right. I stood there for a second because I was in shock.
Ronnie? We've lost Ronnie. I think what happened there is the BBC censored itself. The BBC has a filter that if a story gets too raunchy, too erotic, too exciting for you, dear listener, then the BBC sexy filter kicks in and the caller is cut off. Ronnie, thank you very much for that. Oh, Ronnie, you back?
Okay.
Yeah, you're back. Okay, so a fella gave you a big wet kiss. What band were you watching at the time?
I don't know. They're all cover bands, you see.
Oh, okay.
New and upcoming bands we was watching.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, the other thing is, pantomimes, It's always...
Oh, you're good. I hadn't thought of that. Go on, yeah, that's a big tradition, the pantomime dame.
Yeah. I mean, the Ugly Sisters, always men. Robin Hood, normally played by a woman. It is, isn't
Ronnie,
it?
you're a pervert.
Thank you.
I wasn't expecting that. Thank you, Ronnie. You're a good sport. He's raised a good point. The pantomime dame, the Ugly Sisters, the best boy, principal boy. It's all cross-gender. Isn't that what Britain is based on? Dressing up in clothes of the opposite sex. That's what makes Britain so great. 03453 009956. BBC WM 95.6. Let's get the travel now. Here's Liz Saul.
Thank you, Ian. As you head to Sutton Coldfield, the traffic lights still aren't working on Four Oaks Road around Belwell Lane. It's quite a busy junction along the A454, so just be a bit careful around there. At Anslow Gate near Burton, the B5017 is partially blocked because of an accident involving a car and a bicycle. It's happened between Bellhouse Lane and Collingwood Lane. Police now at the scene near to Collingwood Gate Farm, causing a little bit of congestion. There was a slight problem on the M5 in the roadworks towards Junction 5 at Droitwich. A vehicle broke down, but that's been quickly recovered, so traffic is looking OK currently. In Sutton Coldfield, expect delays at Sutton Park. There's a 10k run going on at the moment, several hundred people around there. That started about 15 minutes ago, so there's likely to be a lot of extra traffic around there at times. And in Birmingham, at Snow Hill Queensway, at Snow Hill next to the train station, there's a charity ab sale going on for the Birmingham Children's Hospital today, throughout the day, and tomorrow, we understand as well. So a lot of extra traffic expected around there with supporters and obviously the abseilers there. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 Travel 08453 002288.
12 points from the UK go to Denmark.
This month, there's a vote that really matters. The local European elections.
Our political parties are afraid to tell people the truth.
To help you decide, BBC WM 95.6 presents a special debate on the issues dividing opinion.
Should we stay in or out of Europe? The economy, immigration.
There is very little migration in those places as it stands.
In manufacturing here in the region, we have a skills gap.
The Euro election debate, Monday from 11 on BBC WM 95.6.
This is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6. In a second, we'll be talking about women in the armed forces, perhaps joining in the front line. And is it right? You can give us a call about that. But before that, let's have one more call. For the moment, on boys in dresses, it's Mary in Coventry. Morning, Mary.
Good morning, Ian.
Mary, what would you like to say?
I spoke to you.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice to speak to you. What would you like to say?
Being gay is genetic.
Yep.
I wrote this down.
Oh. Is it a poem?
No problem with the lad at all.
Yeah.
Dressing up, that's up to him. People ought to mind their own business. I'm a lesbian, I'm bisexual, so was my dad. And all my gay friends used to dress up in dresses. And I hope if he turns out to be gay, nothing to do with wearing dresses, that his mother accepts him.
Mary, your dad was a lesbian?
No, bisexual.
Right, sorry, OK. But we've had this point raised earlier on, and I'm not going to comment on what I think on it, but let me put it to you. We've had several people phone in and say that young boys wearing dresses, they might grow up to be gay, or, as some people describe them, perverted transvestites.
No, it's genetic. My dad was bisexual and I am.
Yeah.
So...
Why do you think... I don't know if you've been listening to the whole first hour, Mary, but we've had some people who are very, very angry that a 5-year-old boy...
I don't understand it.
Might be allowed to dress up in skirts and dresses and things like that. I struggle to see why people are so upset by it. Have you got any idea?
No.
It's an odd one, isn't it? Because it's...
We all need to just get on with our own lives, mind their own businesses, other people.
I think at the age of 5... It's kids dressing up.
Well, yes,
there's nothing sexual in it. There's nothing to do with gender or anything like that. It's just kids go, hey, that looks like a fun outfit. Can I wear that one? Oh, it's a princess outfit. Yeah, sure. You know, that's what it is. So I'm surprised by people being that upset about that. I'm also surprised at people being upset about the fact that some grown men might like to wear women's clothes.
Yes.
Well, I don't see what the problem is.
No, I don't.
Mary, thank you very much. We'll put that out there. 03453 009956 is the phone number. Now, as is often on this kind of show, we do quantum leap. Well, is there a quantum leap in this topic? Well, I think possibly not. Possibly not. The question is it right for women in the armed forces to take on frontline combat roles? The government has signalled that women could soon join the infantry, where the primary aim, of course, is to kill the enemy and protect and defend. The Defence Secretary, Philip Hammond, says a review of the current ban is to get underway immediately. He says he wants to send a message that the armed forces are fully open to women. But one former Chief of Defence Staff, General Lord Dannett, says it's not a job for women.
To be in a unit that is given orders to attack a hill, to attack a town, to attack a village, that is a role not for women. If a woman is in a combat logistic patrol taking supplies forward, or is a medic on a foot patrol and gets caught up in fighting and does fantastically, that is tremendous. But that is a different set of circumstances than the one that I'm describing. I think there's a point of principle there. I think it's an important one for people to reflect on.
This is interesting. I'm really keen to get your thoughts on this. He's the former Chief of Defence Staff, General Lord Dannett, is saying that women, no, they shouldn't be on the front line. Hey, if they get involved in a little bit of crossfire and they manage to look after themselves, well done them. Isn't that great, girls? But he doesn't think it should be a right. 03453 009956. Is it right for women in the armed forces to take on frontline combat roles? I'm joined now by Alison Baskerville. Good morning, Alison.
Good morning, Ian.
Alison, tell me your background, please, and why you're interested in this.
I spent 12 years in the Royal Air Force, which is not very frontline at all. But after doing that, I went into the Army Reserves and became part of a combat camera team where I was attached to infantry patrols over a 6-month period and photographing them on behalf of the MOD as an embedded military photographer. I then left that role and became a completely independent photojournalist and decided to focus on the role of women in uniform over a long period of time, because I feel that every time this comes up in the media agenda, there's a knee-jerk reaction to women on the front line, and obviously it has become a big issue over the last year or so. So now I'm trying to discover why that is, and also to put as much information out there as possible about what women do in the army, and I don't think people know enough about that.
We'll get to that in a second. Going back to your military career, did you find yourself in some pretty hairy situations?
Yes, occasionally. I mean, if you go out on patrol with the infantry, you don't suddenly, when there's a firefight, you can't just stop and hide in a corner.
And how did you cope with that? Did you scream and run away? Did you fall over and twist your ankle? What? How did you cope with it?
No, I didn't scream or run away, thankfully. We were being shot at. I think that would have been a bit stupid.
Yes.
At that point, you just become like every other person in that patrol. The guys don't think, oh, it's a girl. And on one particular patrol, my colleague next to me had a jam on his rifle, and I had to get up and shoot in his place rather than take photos. I mean, I was there to photograph them, but I was also there as a soldier. So I didn't renege any of those responsibilities just because there was some legislation to say I couldn't.
And the men that you were working with, did they? Do you think they treated you differently at all, or went, oh, hang on, she's a woman. We better be careful. Was there any of that? Did you perceive?
There's always an initial perception about anybody attached to an infantry patrol because they're a very close-knit unit. Now, there was 3 of us in our capacity as a combat camera team. And so all of us were treated with scepticism and are we up for the job? And it's all about, have you done the training or not? Have you seen some action or not? So there always is that initial trepidation. But once you get out on the ground with them and prove you can carry the kit and do the job, it does go. And a lot of the female medics who are friends of mine who've done 3 or 4 tours of Afghanistan have seen more action than some of the guys.
And I imagine that would be the same if it was a bloke or a woman.
Yeah.
You've got to prove, once you prove yourself, that's it, you're fine, you're part of the team.
Absolutely, yeah.
How has the women's roles in the military evolved over the years?
Very much so. I mean, we think about conventional warfare, which was First, Second World War, really, and then we've got Northern Ireland, which is a kind of forgotten generation. And then we've got Afghanistan and Iraq, where you don't really have a very specific front line. The terminology front line is a very old-fashioned phrase, really.
It doesn't quite apply, does
No,
it,
not at all. It's very asymmetric warfare, so that basically wherever you are on the front line, especially in places like Afghanistan. So women have had to adapt to that. And you can't just, isolate them and say, right, you can't get involved in this, like Dannett said. You know, if they're in a command logistics patrol and they get into a contact, the woman has to respond. They then say, but they can't go front line. It's just kind of hypocritical, really.
I found what Dan said, a little bit patronising.
Well, he's just voicing the very old-fashioned views of the British Army, I'm afraid, and he's...
And where is the British Army? Are there still people of that generation, of that kind of old-fashioned view, in positions of power, or have they all kind of been nudged out?
Interestingly, we are seeing a shift in that. There is an evolution within the army, which has been long needed. To get rid of that slightly senior generation with these old-fashioned views. And there's a new generation of people coming into the army, young men and women, who are different, completely different to how the older senior figures view it. And I think...
Let's go through some of the arguments for women not fighting on the front line. Physically, you're not up to it.
OK, the physical aspect is another thing that's changed over generations. A lot of young women now are encouraged to be more strong than to go down the gym in a leotard and do a bit of aerobics. They're now doing things like CrossFit. They're doing weight training more than they ever used to. So I think with the right type of training, it is upper body strength that is the thing that will let you down as a woman, and men are obviously physically more muscular,
and that makes a difference. I mean, supposing you got your friend's been shot and you've got to put him over your shoulder and run off with him. Is a modern female soldier capable of doing that?
I think I know at least 3 or 4 who could do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole point about all of this, is we won't really know until someone's given the opportunity. And it's more about opportunities than it is about can they or can't they. Shouldn't we just let them try?
But I suppose when people's lives are at risk, letting people try...
But they'll try in training, not out on the ground. They have to pass those physical requirements before they deploy. And that's the thing, is when we talk about deploying, don't forget we're leaving Afghanistan this year. The whole nature of the army is changing. It's reducing in size. It's changing. It's what it's going to do. It's going to be more involved in short-term operations in other parts of the world. So also that's going to change, and this is why this review's probably been brought forward.
I know we've got lots of people listening who have served time in the military. I'd love to get your thoughts on this morning. 03453 009956. If would you have welcomed women fighting on the front line? Again, it's a slightly old-fashioned phrase, but it's kind of the best one I have at the moment. OK, the second excuse I hear, I love this one. What if a man and a lady fall in love? I heard this argument today. What if a relationship develops? Does that not put the whole unit at risk?
This is such an awful myth, right?
I love this one.
Let me tell you now, when I have come into a patrol base, the love that's shared between those 12 men is probably stronger than between a man and a woman, and they feel as much pain as one of their colleagues falls down than they do a woman, and I don't think it makes any difference. And I'm doing a research at the moment for a festival in the South Bank about philia, and philia is the love between two people of the same gender without the sexual aspect, and it is as strong or stronger than it can be in that other type of relationship. So those guys who've been through their basic training together, they've been through 8 or 9 different contacts during that 6-month period, they've got as much love for each other as a relationship. And I would challenge that view. I think it's very old-fashioned.
OK, the final one that I've heard a lot of recently is just the sexual distraction on both sides, men and women. I imagine it's a tough environment. People are... frustrated. There could be a distraction, couldn't there?
I think there is a little bit, I suppose, but again, a lot of the women are consciously aware of that too, and they're not, unless they're really young and a bit immature, they don't tend to kind of flaunt that fact. But again, after a long period of time, everybody looks attractive when you're away for 6 months. So it's hard to say whether that's definitely not a reason why women shouldn't do it. I really don't think so.
Why do you think people are so vehemently against this? Because some people get really angry about even the suggestion of women being in the important combat roles.
Because we're challenging years and years of perception of male and female roles in the workplace, right? That's the problem. And it's seen as an aggressive, testosterone-fuelled part of life, and it goes back to hunter-gatherer, doesn't it? Woman has children, raises children, men goes out and fight. But the world has changed a lot since then, and women can be just as aggressive and fearsome as a man. And look at the West Side Boys in Sierra Leone. Their leader was a woman.
Yeah.
And she was savage, and they had to send the SAS in to go and kill her. So there are women out there, it just challenges a lot of our stereotypes, and we stereotype everything in our culture.
You've heard this morning, there's a lot of that going on in every aspect.
And I think we forget sometimes we have the luxury of choice in our society in the West.
Why do you think Philip Hammond is doing this now, particularly when all aspects of the military are really cutting back on terms of budget and in terms of numbers? To make it more accessible seems an odd thing to do at the moment.
Not really. I think the Army's tried to improve its image with women anyway for the last, since I've been involved with the military, the Army's been trying to improve that perception, because it does come up a lot about sexual assault in the Army, and I think this is probably a good countermeasure to that. And I think hopefully it's because they've got more open-minded approach to it, and by bringing this review forward, it's welcome news, I think.
Is it going to happen, do you think?
I don't know is the answer to that question, because it's very easy to say, let's talk about women on the front line and relate it to like Canada and Israel and America. But we have to remember all of those nations fight in different types of wars and in different ways. So we can't really sort of compare ourselves to that, to say, oh, well, Israel's been doing it. But Israel is a different country and a different type of war. Yeah. So for us, I think it depends on how they're going to do it. And I mean, I don't have any answers to that. I'd be interested.
Alison, am I right? Have you got a book coming out? Is there a book out?
Yeah, well, hopefully next year at some point. Yeah,
okay.
I've been doing a long-term project with women in the Army, looking at all of their roles, not just this. This is a small part of a very big picture. And obviously, I'd like to show the general public just how much women have been doing over the last 20, 30 years. I think people would be very enlightened to see.
When the book comes out, give us a call and pop in and give it a little plug. Alison Baskerville, I can't speak. Very nice to talk to you. 03453 00 9956.
More goals, more games.
Hear live and exclusive FM commentary of the Premier League final day. Spurs against Villa with updates from Baggies against Stoke this Sunday from 2.
BBC WM 95.6.
I can't really see an argument for not allowing women to fight in the front line. Can you? 03453 00 9956. I'd love to hear your views on this. If you've served in the military or not, if you have served in the military, if you are serving there now, then you'll know what it's like. You'll know what it's like to actually be in a battle. Would it have been any different if the fella next to you wasn't a fella, it was a woman? Would it have been any different? Would you have felt any more vulnerable? Any more exposed? In any more danger? If they've been through the training, if they have proved they are capable of doing what you do, where's the problem? There is no problem, is there? 03453 00 9956. Is it right for women to fight on the front line? Coming up, we'll be speaking to a bloke who's eating his wife's placenta. It's a really odd show today, isn't it? There's almost a thread going through it. But we're speaking to a bloke who's eating his wife's placenta. Oh, yes, disgusts me. But before that, back to the 5-year-old boy, Romeo Clark, who has been booted out of his local playgroup, his Christian playgroup, because at the age of 5 he likes to wear dresses. Now, I don't see any problem with young boys wearing dresses. It's experimentation, it's fun. That's what it is. It's fun. I wore a dress between the age of about 4 and 7, I think. Never did me any harm. And also, if I chose to wear a dress now, as an adult, what's the problem? What's the problem? Why does that scare some people? Well, it gets some people angry, and anger generally comes from fear. So why are people scared of men wearing dresses? 03453 00 9956. Andy's in Halesowen. Morning, Andy.
Good morning, Ian.
Andy, what would you like to say?
Could I just make a quick comment about that young lady who's been on?
Of course you can, yes.
I didn't hear the full discussion, but I would have thought, isn't that why they join the forces?
To fight?
Yeah, well, to defend the country.
Yeah.
I would have thought that was a reason.
Have you ever served in the military, Andy?
No, I haven't. I missed it by 12 months.
Lucky old you. I just wonder, I'd love to speak to someone who's in the army or been in the army. If they're in battle and they look to their left and the bloke there is actually a woman, would they have felt any different at all? Because I don't. If the woman has proved that she's fit enough and skilled enough, where's the problem?
Well, I'm sorry, Ian. Was you addressing that to me?
I'm addressing the whole of the West Midlands, Andy. Anyway, you've called in about dresses. What would you like to say about that?
Well, It's an awkward scenario, really, Ian, isn't it? I'm coming down on the fault of the parents and mum.
Go on.
Such as buying dresses. I mean, isn't that enticing the little lad? Or I would have thought that would have been enticing him. I mean, I'm not blaming the little lad, as you say, and you've emphasised that he's only 5, but he's at school. Does he go to school?
He goes to school, but this is specifically in the playground. In the play group. So this isn't school. This is a Christian-run play group.
Right. Well, why does his mum buy him dresses and shoes, I wonder?
Well, now listen. There's another thing. Looking into the psychology of the mother, and unfortunately, we haven't got her live to speak to. But yeah, that does seem to strike me as slightly interesting. A lot of these dresses are hand-me-downs from his 2 older sisters. But yes, the mum does seem to enjoy buying the dresses for the boy, and I think that is interesting as well.
I would have thought so, Ian. I mean, I wouldn't put no fault on the little boy at all. I mean, I've got 13 grandchildren.
But do any of your grandsons, Andy, or have they when they were 4, 5, 6, did they ever dress up as princesses?
No.
And what would you have thought if they had done that?
Well, if it had been a school play, I would have minded so much like, as a one-off sort of thing. If it, in an activity at school, I should have thought.
But what if they go round to their mate's house and they've got a dressing-up box, and in that dressing-up box is, is a princess outfit? And
oh, I'm funny, you am.
Well, then your grandson puts that on. Is there a problem with that, really?
Well, I'm looking at it on the feminine side of things.
No.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Are you in touch with your feminine side?
If he's got 2 grown-up sisters, has he got 2 sisters?
He's got 2 older sisters, yeah.
Well, I mean, do you think that would have an effect on him regarding that? As such, he's got 2 sisters.
Well, but hang on, I had a sister. But what effect are you implying?
Well, I should imagine, come here, try me dresses on and see how you're looking at that type of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really lost for words at that. My emphasis really is with the mum. I cannot get my head round why is she buying dresses and shoes for the little lad. I just feel so sorry for him.
What about, Andy, grown men wearing women's clothes? You got a problem with that?
That's another subject.
Well, have you got a problem with that?
I have, yes.
Tell me why. I'm curious.
I just don't think it's right. Honestly, Ian, I just don't think it's right at all. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Well, that's the thing. If I find that it's more comfortable for me to do the washing up and feed the kids at home while I'm wearing a nice little black number, maybe not feeding the kids, I dress more appropriately. But if I'm at home and it's more comfortable for me to wear a slinky little black number, some stockings and some high heels, what's the problem with that?
Well, that's the feminine side of yourself coming out, and I mean, that's silly, and you wouldn't do that, surely, Ian. You're a man. Look at your granddad, the greatest Dracula ever.
Andy, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Yes, good old Christopher Lee. 03453 009956. At what point do I let on that Christopher Lee isn't actually my grandfather? No, I won't ever. Julia's been on for ages. Morning, Julia.
Good morning.
Julia, what would you like to say?
Well, I'm just listening with great interest. Firstly, I've always...
Julia, can you turn your radio off?
It isn't on.
Oh, are you on speakerphone or something?
Yeah, is that better?
That's better, thank you. There's a weird little echo. Thank you, yeah.
All right. I've worked with children in a professional capacity most of my working life. My 2 sons, they're apart in age by nearly 10 years. However, both of them have at times worn dresses, played with dolls, push chairs. I absolutely see no issue with it. My youngest son started playgroup in a dress with ribbons in his hair because his little friend, who was a girl, was dressed the same and he wanted to be like her.
It's disgusting, Julia. It's disgusting. He's confused and the parents are abusing him.
Oh, really?
That's what some of the people have said.
You will not influence your child's sexuality by how you dress them. What you are actually doing is giving them freedom to choose their sexuality, to be who they want to be. Both my sons are very heterosexual guys in their adult life. I just don't see the problem. You're just letting them be who they want to be.
Is there an age, Julia, when you should try and stop your young boys wearing dresses?
No.
So they could be, 13? Still putting on dresses, and that would be all right.
If they prefer that, you are going to have to deal with the fact that society doesn't see that as normal. They are going to get tormented, teased, bullied, and then your role as a parent is to support your child through that. That would be my opinion.
What about, Julia, grown men wearing dresses and high heels and stockings?
What about it?
We've had lots of people who think it's a perversion.
It's not a perversion. If that's how they're comfortable, that's how they're comfortable. Who are we to judge?
And that... Do you know what? That's it. As long as nobody is forcing anything on anybody else, if things make you comfortable, then that's fine, isn't it? I'm struggling to see why some people have got an issue around that.
I think it's like fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
I personally know some guys that like to wear dresses. It does look a little bit strange at first, but you need to get to know the person.
Some blokes carry it off better than others. Let's be honest. You know, some blokes do. But you're right. Julia, thank you. 03453 00 9956. You can send me an email. Iain.lee at bbc.co.uk. Ian in Wolverhampton. Scotland and the front line. Have you never worn your national dress? Make sure you carry a skene do to warn off any unwanted attention. From Waterloo to Normandy, foreigners have been very afraid of men in skirts listening to strange music. Thank you, Ian, I think. 03453 00 9956. I'd love to. And I know we have some listening. I would love to speak to a transvestite today. We spoke to Alex, who's a transgender woman. I'd love to speak to a transvestite. And I know that you're listening. Don't be shy. Call up and try and explain, try and educate the people listening who think that what you do is disgusting. Try and tell us why you do it, what you get out of it, what makes you feel like you should be wearing women's clothes if you're a bloke. 03453 00 9956. Richard's in Erdington. Morning, Richard.
Good morning, long time, long speak. If you remember, I was the Pope and that bloke said he was Jesus Christ.
I have not got a clue what you're talking about, but...
Well, a lot of people never do, mate.
Oh, there we go. Right. Richard, I'm sat here. I'm wearing a slinky little shoulderless black number. I've got some black stockings on. They're not fishnets. I'm not a tart. I've got some nice high heels, and I've got a blonde wig on. What do you reckon?
Are you happy wearing that?
I'm very, very happy wearing it.
Well, that's your choice.
There we go, you see. Hey, that's very open-minded of you.
Yeah. The trouble is, been listening to you all morning, like I do every Saturday.
Good for you.
What the hell's going on? Why are people being so judgmental? The child's only 5. We're all blokes got a feminine side, and you know yourself as you grow up what you want to be. If you want to go gay, gay. The important point at the end of the day is if you're gay or straight, whatever, you're the same person with them clothes off. You love that person who you are. I've got kids. Now, if my kids turn gay or whatever, I'll still be there loving them, supporting. At the beginning, I might not be happy, I don't understand it, but again, nothing I can do. It's their choice of life, or it's they're born to be like that.
If my boys came up to me at a later date and said, Dad, I'm gay, I'd give them a big hug, I'd give them a kiss, and I'd say, thank you for telling me, enjoy yourself.
Exactly, that's what I'm on about.
Best of luck.
That's what I'm on about. But we also forget, think back in the olden days, wasn't men women? They used to wear the long wigs, put the powder on them, put the black spots on the face. Used to have the hankies down at the end of the sleeves.
Yes, they were very effeminate, weren't they, in the olden days?
And I just can't understand this morning, you had a few men callers in, they seemed to be so angry. What's wrong with them? And they've got a relationship in their life themselves.
Richard, as a grown man, have you ever worn women's clothes?
I'm coming to that, mate, twice.
OK, tell us, go on.
Right, I've got nothing to be ashamed of. It was me, God bless me soul, my granddad's passed away now. We had a party and they dared me to dress up as a woman. I came down, my granddad didn't know who I was. He thought I was a woman off the street, and my granddad turned around and said, "How much, love?"
Hey.
All right, so that's how, another thing I did, mate, I did it dressed up as a football charity game.
Yeah.
I was driving my car. Do you know, I got more pickups from blokes than I did as a normal bloke picking women up.
Richard, doesn't wearing a skirt or a dress, isn't it an odd feeling? Everything's kind of, just dangling, exposed.
Oh, yeah, it is hard feeling, mate, but it's more refreshing, when you got open skirts.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to end it there, Richard, just because I've got to go to the travel. Kev, Susan, stay there. A gentleman will get this, OK? I'm wearing jeans now, and, everything is... Yeah, a skirt, it is more refreshing. Because, everything's... We've got young ears. I've got to be careful. It's BBC WM 95.6. It's 10:45 or thereabouts. Let's get the travel with Liz.
Yes. Don't go frightening people.
I'm trying to keep it clean as I can. I've done quite well so far.
There's still a while to go. As you head around Sutton Coldfield, just be a bit careful on the A454, 4 Oaks Road, Belwell Lane. The main signal's reportedly faulty, so just be a bit careful. It's quite a busy junction. Anslow Gate, the B5017, is still partially blocked because of an accident involving a car and a bicycle. Recovery work continues between Bellhouse Lane and Collingwood Lane, near to Collingwood Gate Farm. It's slow going around Five Ways Island once again, snarled up on Hagley Road and around Ladywood Middleway as well. Not quite sure of the reason for that. Expect congestion anyway around Snow Hill Queensway. There's a charity event going on today and tomorrow. Charity abseil in aid of Birmingham Children's Hospital. So hundreds of people expected there, not just taking part but obviously supporting as well in the area. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 Travel 08453 002288.
Hello, Francie. Do us a favour, mate. Play them goals again.
Here are the goals that keep Birmingham City in the Championship.
Paul Caddis has scored from 2 yards, and Birmingham City could be staying in the Championship.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM
95.6.
I've just been handed a load of interesting texts. I will get to them shortly. A lot to cram in between now and 11 o'clock. We will be speaking to a gentleman who's eaten his wife's placenta. Dearie me. Let's go to Susan. Morning, Susan.
Good morning, Ian. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Susan in Drayton Bassett. What would you like to say?
Well, a couple of things, really. The little lad who's going to school, going to playgroup, dressing up as a princess.
Yes.
At 5 years old, you actually take your lead from your parents. So I do think if there's an issue here, the issue is with the mother. I've heard you say she's got 2 older daughters, and she probably enjoyed dressing them up as little princesses when they were girls, and it's quite obvious listening to her earlier, she's enjoying dressing the little boy up. I think myself, she could be storing up a lot of problems when he gets older. If it carries on into his senior school, he's going to be bullied, he's going to be picked on.
But he won't wear dresses to school, will he? Because there's a school uniform.
But people will know.
Well, they will now he's been in the paper, yeah.
They're going to know, and if he lives in the same area and he's growing up with the same people, the same children, the children he's mixing with now that have seen him do this, he will be mixing with them when he gets older.
I think the mum, and I would love to have spoken to them live, but we couldn't get her live, but I do think that she has... by putting this in the Daily Mail, and there were dozens of pictures of him online on the Mail website, and they're going to be on Good Morning, This is Britain. I think by doing that, she may have made things slightly worse for the young lad. Because someone will tape that, and so in a couple of years, someone will go, "Hey, Romeo, you're that bloke that used to dress up as a girl." And yes, I think there could be something in that.
I think so. I think she's storing up problems for him when he gets older. She should actually be discouraging this. I mean, if she wants him to look nice, there's some lovely little boys' clothes and everything she can get for him.
But if the lad likes doing it, Susan, let's put to one side that this has been in the press. If this is just your average lad at the age of 5 who likes dressing up as the princesses from Frozen. Let it go, let it go. The princess... My boys love watching Frozen. OK, it's a great Disney film. There are 2 beautiful princesses in there. If they wanted to dress up as the princesses, what's the problem?
Well, you've just said the average 5-year-old. The average 5-year-old does not want to dress up as a little princess.
How do you know that?
Well, I've never seen... I live near to the school, and I see the little kids going to the school.
Yeah, but they're going to school. You don't see them at home in their playroom, in their bedroom, around their mate's house, or at playgroup. You don't see that.
But it isn't average behaviour, is it?
How do you know?
Because it would be out there if it was. If it was average behaviour, it would be classed as normal behaviour and nobody would be saying anything about it.
So you're classing it as abnormal behaviour?
Well, yes,
I did
I
it.
am, because
I did
it's
it.
not normal, it is abnormal, and it is not normal for a 5-year-old boy to dress up as a princess.
I've done it.
Well, need I say?
Oh, you cheeky mare. Susan, thank you. How rude. Kev's in King's Heath. Morning, Kev.
Morning, Ian. Could I make a couple of points?
You can make as many points as you want, boss.
Oh, just a couple. I won't take up too much time. The first one is, I've been listening, and there was a bit of an interview there with the mother, and she said he owns, I don't know, it was 15 or 20 dresses. Well, he must have a good job then. He doesn't own them. You've bought him. I'm making a big assumption there. She's bought him the dresses, so she owns them. So she's the one dressing him up.
Yep.
And the other point was, one of your callers a while back, Ian, I think it was Ian, he was for it. He said, look, there's nothing wrong with that. I've got kids. He's exploring it. And you know what? He might not turn out to be gay or anything. And hopefully he'll grow out of it. Hopefully he'll grow out of it. Hopefully.
Who said that? Did I say that?
No, Ian.
The other Ian said that. OK, yeah.
Hopefully he'll grow out of it. So he's agreeing with it, but he's saying it's wrong as well, isn't he? Hopefully he'll grow out of it.
Well,
he might not. He might grow up and say, you know what, I like this. Hopefully he'll grow out of it. He's not against it, but hopefully he'll grow out of it.
Did you ever dress up, Kev?
I've been thinking while I've been listening to your show, and I can't remember ever dressing up. We did play in that, and I'm sure we did with me and my sister. We're a year apart in age.
Yeah.
I haven't, but I was a maid of honour at a wedding in America.
What?
A maid of honour.
And what did you wear for that?
Well, I said, look, if you want me to do this, because there were a couple obviously getting married, and they couldn't find a maid of honour, and it was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I said, I'll do that. I'll be your maid of honour. I can't get married without a maid of honour.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I said, but only if you get all the gear. And they couldn't get the gear, but I did it anyway, in a pair of shorts and a T-shirt.
It sounds like a very classy wedding. Kev, thank you very much. I'm moving on just because I've got to squeeze a lot in before 11 o'clock. Hang on a second, is that the time? Flipping heck. 03453 009956.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM
95.6.
Hey. Here we go. I need a little bit of help with this one, ladies and gentlemen. Animals do it. Kim Kardashian considered doing it, but to be honest, it sits uncomfortably with me. One food writer has done the unthinkable and eaten his wife's placenta. There's a sentence you don't get to say every day. It comes as a firm that processes raw placentas for new mothers to eat is facing closure over health fears. The Independent Placenta Encapsulation Network makes capsules and smoothies for mums that it claims have numerous health benefits. But it's been blocked from trading by a local authority over concerns bacteria within the placenta poses a hazard to a significant proportion of women. We can speak to food and travel writer Nick Baines. Morning, Nick.
Morning.
Nick, you ate your wife's placenta. Why?
More, I suppose, ultimately, curiosity.
Yeah.
I've done lots of work in previous years on entomophagy, which is the eating of insects, which is being researched quite vigorously by the United Nations Food and Agriculture team. And yeah, it was just one of these things, I joked about it during the pregnancy, and when it sort of came down to it, I thought, well, why not, really?
See, it's one of the... I was in Scotland the other day, and I jokingly tried some haggis, and that was all right, and now I found out what goes in haggis. I probably won't be eating that again. But to actually eat your wife's placenta, what did she say when you kind of brought up the idea?
She wasn't too fussed, really, to be honest. I mean...
Is she used to you eating rubbish, basically?
Pretty much, yeah. Lots of strange and wonderful things. But the other thing I was going to say is it wasn't the whole placenta. It was a piece of it that we took home, and it wasn't sort of the morning after my little boy was born. It was kept in the freezer, and it was done much later.
Okay. What did the medical staff say? Had they had this request before?
It turns out they have. The mood definitely changed when I said, "Don't throw that away."
Keep that. I'll have a doggy bag.
Well, pretty much. The mood changed a little bit, but there was a couple of... I nearly chickened out from doing it, and there was a couple of open-minded midwives that sort of said, we've had this request before, why don't... The exact words are, why don't you take a couple of cheeky steaks? So I did.
And I wasn't allowed downstairs when my wife had our boys, so I kind of missed all of the gore, as it were. What does the placenta look like?
It doesn't look too good, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it is very bright red. And to be completely honest, I mean, if you're in a butcher's that has lots of sort of offal about, it's better looking than a lot of what's on offer, if you know what I mean.
So you took it home, you froze it. How long after your son being born did you decide to eat it?
It was a couple of months, maybe. And during that time, I was looking into, the research of the practice, what sort of medical benefits are believed to sort of be present, and also the research that's been done. The only research that's been done, it's people sort of cite, was done in the 70s, and it's apparently the research was flawed. So there's lots of research going on at the moment because of all this placenta encapsulation, and there's a growing sort of practice of it.
Because I'd always been led to believe, when we were having our babies, we lived in very trendy North London where a few people were doing this, and I'd always been led to believe it was good for the mother to eat it because it kind of restored some of the nutrients that had been lost during the birth. Is that what the research is showing?
There's no research showing that. It's just believed.
Right.
But yeah, University of Las Vegas and University of Buffalo, there's people there that are both doing double-blind placebo trials and trying to actually find out whether it does happen, and if actually through eating the placenta, if the mother is actually gaining anything from it, or if it's just passing through the system. So that's all being researched now, but nothing's proven as of yet.
Okay, so when you decided to eat it, how did you do it? Did you have like a dinner party? Was it a private thing? What was the situation?
No, it was. I had it in the frozen. It was defrosted. I sort of spoke to lots of mums on Twitter and looked on the internet. So a lot of mums are having it raw in a smoothie. So I thought, well, let's try that if that's what they're doing.
You didn't even cook it?
One bit was cooked, and that was put into a tortilla, and I tried it both, so, yeah.
OK, so you had a placenta tortilla and a placenta smoothie. Which was the best?
Neither of them were that good.
Oh, really?
The smoothie was pretty metallic and bloody and tasted like the living room smelt, as I wrote. And the cooked one, to be honest, was quite inoffensive. Tasted a bit like beef, and if you had it on a mixed grill, you probably wouldn't recognise it, and, quite inoffensive.
A bloody metallic smoothie, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, don't put that on your menus. That ain't going to sell too well. So it didn't taste too nice. Did you feel anything afterwards, or did you have any noticeable effects?
No, like I said, I was never expecting to myself. I just sort of was... Lots of people have been documented sort of the benefits that are supposed and things, but nobody's actually sort of written about how it tastes. Chief Friendly Wood still did back in the 90s. But yeah, I just thought it was worth revisiting and, trying to see what it tasted like.
And what's been the response, Nick, on Twitter and in other places? What have people said? Have people kind of come out in support and said, yeah, well done, we should be doing this more? Or did they think you were a freak? What have they said?
A bit of both, really.
Yeah.
A bit of both. But it's obviously sub-editors choose headlines and things. So there is. I think some people read the title, saw the picture that was in the Guardian, and just went straight to the comments without reading the research stuff. So like I say, a bit of both. There's lots of support, but there's a lot of shock horror, and think I'm a disgrace. Bit of both.
I love comments online on newspaper websites. The Mail and the Guardian in particular, for some reason, they really seem to draw quite extreme comments, don't they?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Nick, listen, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your research into this. If you want to see the picture, if you want to go and leave a comment without reading the article, although I suggest you read it, you can. You can go and have a little look online. It's Nick Baines is the writer. Normally, when we do a phone-in, we kind of throw out a subject that we suspect will get lots of response on. I'm suspecting we'll get no response on this, but I'm going to throw this out. have you ever eaten your wife's placenta? I know. Have you ever eaten your own placenta? What a moment to walk in, eh? Huh? What a moment to walk in. Have you ever eaten a placenta? 03453 009956. I've always been... You know when you go for an operation, right, and you have a kidney removed or you have a bit of your body removed, are you allowed to say to the doctor, I'll take that with me? Are you allowed to ask them to pickle it and put it in a jar? If you have a testicle removed, can they pickle it like a pickled onion and you take it in a Sarson's jar? Does that work? Surely it's yours, you're allowed to. I've often wondered, if you have your kidney taken out, would you eat it? I'm not sure. 03453 009956. It's a long shot. I'm expecting nothing from this, but boy oh boy, WM 95.6 listeners, you always seem to surprise me. Have you or someone you know, let's spread it out, ever eaten a bit of someone's body? I know. This lot don't surprise me in the slightest, Producer Joe. We could get anything from them. 03453 009956. And astrology, what a load of old guff.
We full commentary of every Warwickshire cricket game this summer exclusively online. bbc.co.uk/WM.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
It's bang on 11 o'clock. Let's get the news now with Nicole Pullman.
BBC News has learned that senior council officials in Birmingham have said they've seen no evidence of an alleged plot by Islamic extremists to take control of schools in the city. They told teachers and governors at a meeting earlier this week that the problems were more to do with governance and leadership. Meanwhile, the chairman of the House of Commons Education Select Committee, the Conservative MP Graham Stewart, says it's almost certain they will also investigate the so-called Trojan horse plot.
In some of these schools' cases, that appears to have been quite a religiously conservative tint to the school, but also quite good academic success. But it's not necessarily the case that a very religiously conservative school, even if that's been pushed there against the rules and against the law, necessarily leads to radical extremism.
Military police are investigating photographs which appear to show at least one British service personnel giving the thumbs up next to a dead Taliban fighter in Afghanistan in 2012. The taking of so-called trophy photographs is strictly forbidden. The consumer group Which says savers are losing an estimated £4.3 billion a year by leaving their money in accounts that pay little or no interest. Her surveys found 3/4 of people don't think banks do enough to help savers get a good deal. Richard Lloyd from Which wants banks and building societies to make accounts more transparent.
We want to stop the teaser rates that then disappear into terrible interest rates that leave people with very little income from their savings. We want to make it easier for people to see what the interest rates are on different accounts and easier for people to switch their ISAs.
The Albion head coach Pepe Mel says he's enjoyed his time in the West Midlands, even if it might be coming to an end. Mel says he still doesn't know whether he'll be kept on for next season with the Baggies, and there's widespread speculation that he'll be released after tomorrow's game against Stoke. He says it's tough to come into a club halfway through the season, but it's been quite an experience.
It's more difficult if it's other language, other culture, other country, and new players. But now, 4 months after, I think my experience is good.
And the weather, a blustery day today with a mixture of sunshine and showers. Some of the showers could be heavy, but the strong winds will move the bands of rain through fairly quickly. The top temperature this afternoon, fairly mild for this time of the year, 15 degrees Celsius, 59 Fahrenheit. Even windier tonight, though, with the showers continuing right through the night. Mild again, with the temperatures overnight down no lower than about 7 Celsius, that's 45 Fahrenheit. And the outlook for the following few days, staying unsettled. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
You should take in other religions and treat them as you would want to be treated yourself.
We are even more intelligent. They treated me with the utmost respect.
Iain Lee, Saturdays
9 till 12.
BBC WM 95.6.
I'm enjoying myself far too much this morning. I'm sorry, I'm jumping on a carrot as well. That's how excited I am, guys. Quick recap of what we've talked about and then a quick nod as to what else we're going to cover in the last hour. Don't forget, the way this show works, you can phone in at any point about any of the things we've talked about. And also, if there's something you want to talk about that we've not covered, you can also call in. I'll give out the number in a second. We've spoken about boys wearing dresses. 5-year-old boy banned from his local playgroup because he likes to wear dresses. Well, we've spoken about that and we've kind of expanded it into transvestism, men wearing dresses. I would love to speak to a transvestite. If you enjoy wearing women's clothes or feel more comfortable wearing women's clothes and you're a bloke, could you give us a call and explain why? Because there are a lot of people, I think, listening who could do with a little bit of education. We're also talking about women fighting on the front line. You got a problem with it? And just before the news with Nicole, we spoke to Nick. Nick is a travel writer and a food writer, Nick Baines. He's eaten his wife's placenta. This is a long shot, OK? Have you ever eaten a part of somebody's body? I know, it's probably just going to be placenta because I'd imagine the rest of it is illegal. Is it? I don't know. Anyway, have you ever eaten part of someone's body? That's one thing. The other thing, have you got a part of yours or someone else's body at home? 03453 009956.
Have your say.
Across the West Midlands, call
03453 009956.
BBC WM 95.6.
I ask that because if I ever had... I've never had a part of my body removed, thank God, touch wood, so far. If I had a part of my body removed, my tonsils, a testicle, a finger, a kidney, I would ask... Can I take that home with me, please? Could you pickle that and put it in a jar? If you had a testicle removed, you'd certainly put it in a pickled jar, wouldn't you? Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun? It'll be fun. Producer Joe, during the news, was telling me, was it your great-great-grandfather? Great-great-great-grandfather was shipwrecked or something. It's a fantastic story. And his finger became infected. He had to cut his finger off. Producer Joe still has that finger in a metal case. If I had my great-great-grandfather's finger in a metal case, I would carry it everywhere I went. I'd be taking it around and showing... Have you seen this? Oh, that's great. What is it? Yeah, it's my great-great-great-grandfather's finger. So, ever eaten part of the human body? Be careful. I've just realised that some of you could interpret that in a way that is completely inappropriate for this time of the day. Steady. Have you got any parts of someone's body at home? 03453 009956. I know it's a long shot, but sometimes it's worth having a punt because you lot have got some great stories. Coming up in this hour as well, astrology. Your future is in the stars. No, it's not. It's a load of old guff. Complete and utter guff. Do you believe in it? Do you buy it? Are you into that stuff? We'll be speaking to someone later on who does believe it. I don't get... I sat down this morning and producer Joe got out the papers. Oh, shall I read our stars? We're both Geminis. What does that mean? Shall I read our stars? I mean, yeah, you can read out a load of nonsense for a couple of minutes if you want. It won't mean nothing. 03453 009956. Mo's in Tamworth. Morning, Mo.
Good morning, Ian.
Mo. See, I've written a song for you and everything. What would you like to say, Mo?
I'd like to say, Ian, I
Yep.
feel a little bit let down by you today.
Oh, go on. Tell me why.
I feel your subjects,
Yep.
children, boys in girls' clothes and the centre eating
Yep.
are very unsavoury.
Tell me why they're unsavoury.
Because you get an awful lot of people that would normally listen to you turn off.
How do you know that?
I do pride myself on having a pretty good understanding of human nature.
Right. Can I... Permission to speak freely, Mo?
Yeah?
You're wrong on that one.
How am I?
Well, because we've had more phone calls this week than we had last week. Now, you can't necessarily...
No, I find that very, very hard to...
It's true. It's absolutely true. We have had more phone calls this week than we had last week by a considerable amount, OK? Now, you can't necessarily extrapolate and work out how many listeners you've got as a result of the phone calls. But I can say with my hand on my heart, we've had more phone calls this week than we had last week by a big number.
OK, well, I base my...
You're still listening?
I'm still... Oh, no, hang on a minute. No. I've been out most of the morning, unfortunately. That's a bit sad, because I do normally like to listen to you, Ian.
But have you been out because we've been talking about placentas and boys in dresses?
No, I had to go out
There you
this
go.
morning.
So
I
you...
had to go out this morning.
So there you go.
Stayed listening.
Yeah.
A little bit of loyalty and a little bit of the subject. He'll change the subject quite soon, which I know you are about to.
Well, and also, we've talked about women fighting in the front line. No one...
I didn't know that.
We spoke about women fighting in the front line. No one has chosen to call in about it. Interesting, huh?
Yeah. What amount of calls did you get back on that subject?
On women fighting in the front line?
Yeah.
0.
Really?
0. I know. We had one that kind of alluded to it, but he called in about dresses. We've had more phone calls about boys wearing dresses than we've had about placentas. We might get some about placentas, I don't know. It's a long shot. We've had 0 calls, and I'm giving away some of the trade secrets here, but we had 0 calls about women fighting on the front line. So, Mo, are you still in tune with human nature as much as you think?
Yes, I am, because in my lifetime I've known an awful lot of people and still do. And I know that most of them would find these two subjects, as I say, unsavoury.
In my lifetime, I've done an awful lot of phone-in radio shows. I've done a lot. And I and producer Joe, we get it wrong sometimes, but we pretty much know what people would be interested in hearing. That's why we choose we don't choose stuff thinking, oh, this will get people turning off. This will get our listenership down. We kind of know, if we put our collective ears together, we kind of know what will get people going. I'm interested, Mo, why do you think the story of a 5-year-old boy dressing up as a princess, why do you find that unsavoury?
Only from the point of view of it wouldn't interest an awful lot of people.
Au contraire, but it has done.
Well, a few, you know.
Well, a lot.
But, no, hold on. I really do think I like your programme. I consider myself a very good listener, and I've got a broad mind. But it's not a subject that would interest me.
Okay.
And also, the placenta subject is very, very distasteful, isn't it? I mean, how many people do you think are going to be interested in that? I
don't think we'll get any calls on it. I don't think many people will have done it, but I do find it fascinating. And that's all I can go on, Mo. Listen, I'm not a journalist, right? I used to be a comedian years ago. I don't know what I am now. But I am a big fan of speech radio, and I know what interests me. And if it interests me, and if it interests producer Joe, then boom, we're going to go for it, because we suspect other people...
No, always. You've got a... I like your mind. I like the way it works.
It's a good mind.
Yeah.
It was a good mind.
Let me get a word in.
Please do, but I'm disagreeing.
Don't always agree with you. Don't always agree with
Which
you.
is great, yeah.
About the way your mind works. But and I'll tell you something else too.
Go on, man.
I think you've got an excellent sense of humour. But these two subjects this morning would not appeal to the great majority of people listening, if they are still listening.
But you don't know that, Mo. They don't appeal to you. And yet, actually, you've called in on both of them. But they don't appeal to you. That doesn't mean they don't appeal to the majority of people.
But you don't know how many people have turned off, turned over, or gone out.
No, I don't.
No.
Oh, I don't.
Exactly.
But I bet that more people are staying listening to this than they did last week's show.
Remind me of last week's subject.
I don't remember it. That's how dull it was. Mo, listen, you've called in about it, though. You've called in about the two subjects that you think people won't be calling in about. So, I win.
No, you only win because most people like me wouldn't bother ringing in.
No, but you've bothered. You don't know that. You've bothered to ring in.
I am the exception to the rule.
No, you're
I'm not the rule.
We have had more phone calls today than we had last week.
So
you're wrong.
Care.
But you're wrong.
What about the calls that you haven't had?
What does that mean? That doesn't even mean anything. What about the calls you haven't had? I'm not bothered about the calls I haven't had. I'm bothered about the ones I have had, and we've had loads. Mo, you're a good sport. Thank you very much indeed. What about the calls you haven't had? Those ones don't bother me. Those ones don't bother me very much. Mo, it's always nice to talk to you. Keep listening, because I think maybe you'll enjoy the astrology conversation. Eddie, stay there. I'll come to you in a second. I want to go to Sean first. Morning, Sean.
Oh, yes, good morning, Ian.
Sean, what would you like to say?
Yes, I'm just thinking about this little child of 5, that's wearing the frocks, the girls' frocks.
Yeah, go on. Bit of fun,
I've
isn't
come
it?
to the conclusion, if the mother studies the situation, it's obvious.
Yes.
He's got 2 big sisters and the mother. So he's looking at nothing only frocks once he started to notice things.
Yeah.
And the mother should have got him a little boy's trousers and whatnot. Instead, she'd buy him frocks.
He doesn't want to wear little boy. I mean, he wears trousers as well. He doesn't go around like a princess all the time. It's just when he's playing, he wants to dress up and pretend to be a princess or a fairy.
Well, I think
or a witch.
According to what she said, she had over 100 frocks for him.
Yeah.
Well, if she was to change him 10 times a day, he wouldn't even get through them in a week.
Sean, he's not wearing them all the time.
No.
He's wearing them just to play in and have a little bit of fun. What's the harm in that, Sean?
Well, no, it's time now he started to get into trousers.
Yeah,
it's time he got into boys' clothes.
He wears boys' clothes as well. He's not exclusively wearing women's
I thought
clothes.
he went to school with girls' clothes.
No, Sean, he didn't.
No, he didn't. Oh, I understood he did.
No, he doesn't. He goes to school in boys' clothes. He goes to playgroup in girls'. Eddie in Coles Hill's listening. Eddie, what would you like to say?
Okay, thank you. Bye.
No, stay there, Sean. Stay there. Sean, he's gone. Okay, well there we go. He didn't want to talk to us, Eddie. Go on. What would you like to say?
I don't see the problem in the young lad wearing dresses. You know, playing about in like we had to wear them when we went to school when we were kids. Because my mum, I come from a family of 10, and she couldn't afford to buy all of us clothes.
Yeah. So you had to wear your sister's hand-me-downs by necessity.
Yeah.
Has it? Okay, Eddie. Let me just go through the checklist. Hang on. Number 1, has it made you gay? No. Okay. Has it made you a dirty transvestite?
No.
No. Okay. Has it made you perverted in any way whatsoever?
No.
There we go. Okay, right, fine. Well, you've cleared up that issue then. Did you get teased or bullied or anything, or did just people kind of accept it? You know, you didn't have much money, so you had to wear your sister's clothes.
Well, I don't think they dare pick on us because I had 9 brothers, like so.
Oh.
But
hang on, how many were you in the family?
There was 10 boys and 1 girl.
Flipping heck! Well, hang on. Why were 1 girl's clothes being shared between 10 boys?
Yeah, like passed down, like.
How many clothes did she have to accommodate all those boys?
Well, more than we had.
Blimey, I suspect she was she the favourite?
Yeah, well, she was the oldest one, yeah.
Yeah, that would explain it. Eddie, thank you very much.
Previously on Hunted.
Ted Knoll Horse Sanctuary! Oh, let's hope I've got an appointment.
When you signed up to do this show, did you know you had to muck out?
5 clues.
Oh, my word, it smells.
That's not the sweet smell of victory.
Oh, he's fighting! He's got a sword fight going on!
To find one person in the West Midlands.
It's one thing to have a sword fight with the hunted, but it'd be wrong to actually slay him.
Hunted.
With Richard Wilford.
This Sunday morning from 9. BBC WM.
95.6.
Yeah, that's the station. Let's get the travel news now with Liz.
Thank you very much, Iain. As you make your way in and out of Birmingham, you'll find a little bit of congestion on Pershaw Road in the roadworks, heading from Sahari Road and towards Belgrave Interchange, so particularly on the inbound side, it's looking quite congested. Anslow Gate, the B5017, still partially blocked because of an accident involving a car and a bicycle. Recovery work continues between Bellhouse Lane and Collingwood Lane, so just approach that with a bit of caution. Round Dudley at the Burnt Tree, traffic lights looking rather slow, and in Albury it's congested around Birchley Island, just near to Junction 2 of the M5. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 travel 08453 002288.
Darlaston,
Edgbaston,
Erdington,
Paisley, Gornal Wood. Have your say across the West Midlands.
BBC WM
95.6.
Yeah, you annoy me a lot. I was talking to producer Joe there, sorry. Let's do some of these texts. I've got lots of time. I'm eating a carrot. How rude. I'm always surprised by how long it takes for my mouth to be clear of carrot when I take a bite of carrot. You think, oh, I have a bite of carrot, it'll be gone in a second. But then the carrot remains there for ages. Some texts. Iain, I've eaten a toenail. Mike in Solihull, to eat a placenta is absolutely disgusting. Some people have no morals whatsoever. Whatsoever is spelt W-A-T-S-O-E-V-A. Russell, women on the front line, don't make me laugh. Oh, here we go. We spoke earlier on about the possibility that women could be fighting on the front line with men. Russell says, women on the front line, don't make me laugh. The biological facts speak for themselves. Women can't do anything better than men except moan. Ask any soldier on the front line who they'd want watching their back, and it would be a man every time. What would happen if they smudged their makeup or broke a nail? Stick to what you're good at and put the kettle on. 03453 009956. Mary says, I'd rather my children grew up caring, thoughtful people, however they choose to dress, than be muggers or murderers. Andy says, I'm seeing a trend. It's the elder generation seem to be the ones that have the problem with men wearing dresses. It's an age thing. The younger generation seem to accept things more. A few of you saying, what about men in kilts? What if the couple... Oh, no, that's a silly one. There's a few more. I'll get to a few more in a bit. Let's go to Chris is in Walsall. Morning, Chris.
Morning, Ian.
Chris, it's a feisty one today. What would you like to say, sir?
Well, I'm on Mal's side. Sometimes it's the phone calls that you don't have that really matter.
What on earth does that mean to a phone-in show? The phone calls that you don't have are the ones that matter?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Because people sometimes, sometimes they haven't got an opinion and sometimes they can't phone in.
Right.
So, if they've got an opinion and they can phone in, sometimes you've got to get the subject right, Ian.
But we've had more... Joe, can you remember, what did we do last week at the top of the show? Do you remember? Because we've had more phone calls this week. We did knives, that was it. We did a phone-in last... Thank you, Joe. We did a phone-in last week, Chris, about knife crime.
Oh, but everybody is talking about knives.
They weren't last week. They weren't last week on my show. Yet this week, we talk about a 5-year-old boy in a dress. Boom, the phones have gone mental.
Oh, well, that's outrageous. That's outrageous.
No, why is that?
Because I think, just imagine how many phone calls you haven't had about it, Ian.
But that does... I couldn't care less about the phone calls I've not had about it.
Ian, I think what you need to do is you need to start counting calls that you don't have against those that you do have.
How am I going to count the calls I don't get, Chris, against the ones I do have?
Really, Ian, you've got to, because nobody's going to be happy else.
Chris, I'm hoping your tongue is in your cheek. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, Michael's in Germany. Guten Tag, Michael.
Ja, guten Tag, Ian.
Wie bist du?
Gut, und du?
Ja, ich bin gut. Ja, das ist sehr gut.
Trägst du ein schönes Kleid?
Oh ja, das Wetter ist sehr kalt.
Ja.
Ja, ich bin 30 Jahre alt.
Ja, ich auch.
Ja.
Windy in England.
Ja, das ist sehr windy.
Ja.
Sehr windy. Michael is in Germany. Michael listens to the show, dear listener, to improve his English. Of all the shows in all the world, he listens to this one to improve his English. How is your English coming on, Michael?
Yes, it's coming on well, I think.
I think it's brilliant. How long have you been learning English for?
I've been learning English for a couple of years.
I think it's excellent. What have you called in about today, Michael?
I would like to call about this story of excluding the young boy from a Christian playgroup.
Yeah.
Due to wearing girls' clothes.
Yes, go on.
Yes, it made me a bit sad and also a bit of, I feel also a bit of anger because the boy is 5 years old and I don't know whether it's right to exclude him, especially for Christian, which is a religion, I think, of tolerance and, yeah.
What's the culture like in Germany? Do little boys dress up in dresses when they're playing over there, or is it frowned upon?
I don't know. I think it can depend on the group, because we have in Germany the tendency in churches to be also very free and to say, yeah, okay, just do it and try yourself. Try it out, and so. But we also have this conservative ones.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Have you ever dressed up as a woman, Michael? Have you ever? Hast du ever?
Ja.
Dressen Sie up and Sie as einen Woman?
No, nein, habe ich nicht. But I also, if I was a child, aged, 6 years or 7, or even a bit older, I played with a doll.
Yeah. You see, now there are some people today who frown upon boys should play with guns and cowboys and soldiers, and girls should play with dollies and dolls' houses and things like that.
I played with a doll.
Yeah.
as I was a child.
Michael-
I also played with guns and with other things, but I also like to play with a doll.
Michael, listen, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I genuinely excites me, and I feel a lot of pressure because you listen to us to improve your English. I think your English is cracking, Michael. It's certainly almost as good as my German, so well done. An email here. Oh, no, that's not the one I wanted. There was one about eating placentas. Where did you go, placenta email? Here we go. Iain, what's the difference between the Ponzi eating of placenta and cannibalism? We aren't cats who did it for cleaning up reasons. That's Chris in Halesowen. Let's talk to Simon, and then we'll move on to astrology. Morning, Simon.
Hello, yeah. I wanted to talk about women and supposedly going on the front line.
Yeah, go on. What do you reckon? It looks like it's probably going to happen. A review is being launched. Women fighting on the front line. What are your thoughts?
Well, women are meant to do... Women are the life givers in life, and men...
Are the life takers?
Got certain roles.
Right.
As in bringing in the food for the family and that sort of thing. And if you take it to its logical conclusion, why can I not walk down the street or be in a pub or something or get into some kind of woman? Why can I not hit a woman in the face?
Sorry?
If they're equal. If men and women are equal, then why can I not treat a woman in exactly the way I treat a man?
Hang on, Simon. You can't punch a man in the face in the pub.
Okay, well, if I was to hit my wife, I would be convicted of domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was to hit a man, I'd be convicted of assault. So,
Yeah, well, unless you were married to that man. If you were married to that man and hit him, then I guess, and this hasn't happened yet, but it probably will do, then you would be convicted of domestic violence. It's because you're married to that person. That's why it's different.
Well, no, because
the two don't qualify. If you punched a man in the face in the street, you'd be convicted of assault. If you punched a woman in the face in the street, you'd be convicted of assault.
You get a higher sentence for the woman. And the reason why domestic violence is illegal is because the woman's weaker than a man.
Well, no, but women can also be arrested for domestic violence against men.
Well,
yes.
Yeah, they can. But that's the psychological deficiency with the man.
What do you mean? It's a psychological deficiency with the man? It's the victim's fault. Is that what you're saying?
Well, domestic violence from women to men is not as serious as women.
Whoa, Simon! Why do you always call us in the last half an hour of the show? Please start calling us earlier. Domestic violence from women towards men is not as serious as the other way round. What makes you say that?
Because a man can stop it if he wants.
No, Simon. There are examples where men cannot stop it, where men are bullied and sometimes physically attacked by their wives, and for the same reason that women can't stop it, men can't stop it. It's about control.
A man can just put his hands on a woman and stop her.
No, Simon, what world do you live in where men are all stronger, both mentally and physically, than women? It's not always the case.
So if you had an arm wrestle with your wife, you couldn't beat her then?
But that's not relevant to this conversation.
I mean, it's just, the way things are going, the way society's going.
Why would I'm really intrigued, Simon. I remember you called in last week and you thought Max Clifford had a raw deal. Why would you want to punch a woman in the face?
I'm not saying I would want to do that, but that is the logical conclusion, that men and women are exactly the same.
Okay. But that argument is completely irrelevant towards the argument of women fighting in the front line in the army. Why would that? No, it's not. It's completely different, and you know it is, Simon. And you're being obtuse.
No.
Why would you not want a woman to fight in the front line?
Because they are the of men and women. Women are caring. They're not supposed to go around killing people.
That's the gender stereotype we have. But hey, do you remember Margaret Thatcher? She started the Falklands War. That wasn't particularly caring. Women are different. Simon, stay there. You said something interesting about domestic abuse. Ken's in Sheldon. Morning, Ken.
Morning, Simon.
Hello.
I've never heard so much rubbish coming from that gentleman's mouth. I'm sorry, I don't know who he is, and I shouldn't upset him that way. But I can assure you, when I used to work for the domestic violence unit in Birmingham, there was just as many men coming forward, and I mean men, big burly men, who have been beaten by their wives. It's as illegal from a man to a woman as it is from a woman to a man.
I know, but a man can actually stop it physically, can't
No,
he? But
no,
women
no,
can't.
no, they can't. No, they can't stop it because the simple reason is there are in every walk of life there are the strong people and there are the weak people. Now you'll probably find that the woman is the dominant partner in that relationship, and therefore he can't stop it. That is why he goes to domestic violence use and asks for help. You're living in Claire Cuckoo land, I'm afraid, my friend. You really are. Believe me, if a man can stop it, you're saying he can arm wrestle a woman. Okay, a man's physical strength, okay, it is greater than a woman's physical strength. But when that woman picks up a bottle and smashes him in the face straight away without no speech, nothing, he walks in the house and next thing he's got a bottle smashed in his face, he can't stop that. He really can't. Are you married, mate? Are you married?
No.
No. Then, my friend, have you ever been married?
No, but that's not the point.
No, have you ever had a girlfriend?
Yeah.
You have?
That's not the...
Yeah. Well, what's your point then, bud?
Well, men are stronger, so when a woman hits a man, he can get her hands and, physically stop the attack. But
right,
women can't do that when...
Let me just stop you there. Because you've raised the point. You've just defeated yourself. When that woman hits that man, there's the violence. Okay, he may be able to pull her hands away from one side, but the domestic violence has already happened. She has struck that bloke. Straight away, that's the violence. There's the domestic violence. The same way as a woman, if a bloke hits a woman, she can try and fend him off.
So you're saying
that the actual violence itself has happened.
So you're saying that men and women are equal then?
Of course they're equal, for crying out loud.
So that means that when I'm in the street or in a pub and a woman steps on my foot or spills a drink over me in a bar, I can shout at her in exactly the aggressive way that I would do to a man. That's ungentlemanly.
No, well, you see, being gentlemanly, if a woman steps on your toe, she hasn't done it on purpose, she will say sorry. You say, that's okay, love, don't worry about it. Or if she spills your drink, she said, I'm ever so sorry, that's okay, dear, don't worry about it. It's exactly the same way as you do it. But I'm sorry, but I don't think I'd like to go into a pub where you are, because if I bumped into you or spilt your drink or stood on your toe purely by accident, it sounds like that you and I are going to get into a bit of a fracas.
Yeah,
and quite frankly, I don't think I'd like to be out with you.
Yeah, but the point is, we don't treat men and women in the same way. That's why a person would hit a man in a situation, but wouldn't hit a woman. So that's why.
Hang on. Well, in what situation would you hit a bloke? Because he stood on your toe.
No, it may be something more serious than that.
Well, serious as what?
Something which would make a fight happen. But you would always not get into a fight with a girl, a woman.
I'm sorry, but you don't always get into a fight with a bloke, because if something happens, it's an accident. That's what it's called, an accident.
Yeah, but
so intelligent people, intelligent human beings, be it male or female, will turn around to that person and say, I'm ever so sorry I stood on your toe. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. You diffuse the situation straight away. It sounds to me like you sort of go out to places looking for trouble for somebody to stand on your toe so you can have a fight.
No,
male or female.
No, I'm not that sort of person. But in courts, when a man he does something to a woman, some act of violence, he always gets a longer sentence than if he...
No, I'm sorry, he doesn't. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. How do you know that? Have you ever sat in court? Have you ever listened to the cases? I have. Have you ever sat in court and listened and given evidence in a domestic violence case and heard the sentence come down to a woman and the sentence come down to a man? You'll find that exactly the same. Because if you were speeding 60 miles an hour in a 30 limit, you'd get £60 fine, 3 points on your licence. If a woman was speeding, she still broke the law, she'd get exactly the same. So if you are committing assaults on a male or a female, the sentence is exactly the same. It's called assault on the human being.
Ken, Simon, stay there. Florence wants to join us. Florence from Tamworth, what would you like to say?
Hello.
Hello, Florence.
I'm an auxiliary nurse and I work in a hospital. What about when the patients attack the nurses?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when the patient attacks a nurse, he's not attacking her because she's a woman.
Yeah.
It's because they're attacking the establishment where they are.
Florence, what examples have you seen of this?
Pardon?
What examples have you seen of this, of patients attacking nurses?
Well, there was a nurse sitting on one of the chairs, and she was just about to start the duty, give the drugs out, and a male patient came out and got the chair, turned around, and just threw her across the room.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so let's have nurses.
Threw her on the floor. And then another instance, there was another male pushed one nurse from under the curtain out on her back, and then the other one, he got her arm up her back.
Florence,
so what about that?
These are horrific examples you're describing and disgusting.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, what's the point that you're making that you'd like to make to Ken and Simon?
Well, that the male is stronger than the woman.
So are you agreeing with Simon then?
Simon.
Simon's the one who's saying that if he punched a woman in the face, he'd get a longer prison sentence, and therefore women shouldn't serve on the front line.
No, it's a different kettle of fish. They're trained, aren't they? They're trained to serve on the front line,
and that's
if they want to.
And that
is what they want to do.
Simon?
No, you don't understand. That's exactly why women shouldn't serve on the front line, because it gives the image of women.
Hang on. Why can't women serve on the front line? They are a trained soldier. They go through the same training as a male. They become a trained soldier. They pass out. They do the exams. They do all the tests. They do all the competency courses. Hang on.
Yeah, they've been trained.
Hang on, my dear.
They've
please.
been trained.
I didn't talk over you.
Okay,
Please don't
go on.
talk
I'll
over
let
me.
you. Go on.
Hang on, love.
Oh, thank you very much. Right, they are trained people. They are quite. They're
that's what I'm saying.
Hang on, my dear. You say you're going to let me speak, but then you talk over
trained.
me. Please don't talk over
Nurses
me.
aren't trained to fight.
Florence, right, one at a time.
Of course they are.
Right, one at a
Of
time.
course they're not.
Oh, blimey.
A trained soldier.
Yeah, he's trained to fight. Nurses aren't trained to fight.
So we're not talking about nurses now. We're not talking about nurses, my dear.
That's something different then.
No, we're talking about the armed forces. The question is, would you have a woman on the front line in the theatre of war? Yes, because they are trained to do it. And if I was in a theatre of war, which I have been, and I had a woman looking after my back, it wouldn't bother me. I've got somebody behind me looking after my back. I couldn't care if there's gay straight in Australia as long as they're behind me.
Florence, I'll let you come back in on that.
Well, nurses aren't trained to fight, are they? But we still get...
Okay, Florence, I'm going to let you go because I think I appreciate your time and your call. I think the nurses' tangent is perhaps a little bit more confusing. For those of you who've tuned in hoping to hear us talk about astrology, we're going to carry that over to next week. Don't worry. 03453 009956. Simon, the training is the key thing, isn't it? If the women have been trained to the same standards as the men in the army, why shouldn't they be allowed to fight on the front line?
There's a very small amount that have passed that training, but...
Yeah, then they should be allowed to fight.
It's the principle that women shouldn't be picking up bayonets and guns and killing people.
Why? But hey, some people will think that men shouldn't be picking up bayonets and guns and killing people.
Well, you know, when they put 50% of women in Parliament, they said there'd be no more wars, but they've just been all brainwashed by feminism and all this. You know, women have got their roles in life. That's to give birth to babies.
To make babies and what? And do the cooking and the washing up?
Oh,
well, in
most
cases, yes. That's why society's falling apart, because we're going the wrong way.
It's falling apart, my friend, because of people like you. It's falling apart because of people with thoughts like you that women should remain pregnant in the kitchen. I'm sorry, a woman is just as valid a person on this earth as you or I.
Ken, thank you very much. Controversial words from Ken. Simon, stay there. 03453 009956. So, Simon, just to clarify, you think that women shouldn't fight on the front line because they should be making babies and cooking?
Well, mostly.
Should they be working?
That's why their body's designed in a way.
Should women be working? I'm looking out through my glass now. I've got two people working on the show. I've got producer Joe. I've got Bernie. They're both women. The person filling in, doing the next show, Lizzie, is a woman. So should women be working even?
Well, women have got good minds. They're good at talk.
Good minds, girls. Well done.
Things and talking and communicating and things like that.
Yeah.
But women's bodies are designed to have babies. They've got a completely different physiology.
They do have. They have a womb.
Structure,
Yes.
Muscles.
Yes.
It's not. You can either go one way or the other. If you think that women now are to be violent people, then it's just going to lead to worse things, worse images, worse images for children.
What? Sorry.
Worse
images for children?
Okay.
Worse
example for young people.
Okay, Sat's on the line. Sat's in Smethwick. Morning, Sat.
Morning.
Sat, what would you like to say to Simon?
Well, I think Simon's living in a bit of cloud cookie land. It's 2014 now, and things have changed. If women want to fight on the front line, they've been trained soldiers, and they're trained like every other soldier, may that be women or men. So if they want the choice to fight on the front line, they're allowed to do it.
Gentlemen,
they're allowed to do everything else in the world now. It's equal to men. Everything they play cricket, football.
Gentlemen, can I Simon?
Fighting on the front line.
Simon and Sat.
Soldiers that can fight there.
Simon and Sat. Simon, I'll let you come back. Simon, I'll let you come back. We just had a call from Paul in Sutton. Paul, we got your number wrong. Could you give us a call, please? Because I know you had a really interesting story that I think Simon would like to hear. Paul in Sutton, give us a call. We're keen to speak to you and we can't get hold of you. Simon, respond to Sat.
Young men today are not sure they go in that side. There's so many one-parent families without the father there. There's a lot of young men who are getting into criminal activity, going to prison because they've got no father there, and the young men don't know their correct role in life because feminism and things like that is blurring their view of how they should be. They should be the leaders of the family. They should be the head of the household. And things like
Simon, I think what we got to think on the lines is defence for our country, and if women soldiers are being trained all over the world, if we was to have a conflict, now their soldiers have been trained. They got women there, fighters. So our men shouldn't be fighting their women. Then they're women soldiers.
Yeah.
Where would our men go then? Just stand up and be shot by those women? So a woman or a man that has been trained as a soldier to defend for their country, they should be allowed to defend for their country unless they choose any other role in the army, in the armed forces to do so.
You've got to look at the impact on society generally. There should be no women in any army, and the prisons are full of young men because of
now you're talking about our army. You can't tell the other armies in the other nations don't have women in there because we're not going to have women in ours. So our men ain't going to be able to fight.
Sat, thank you very much. But also, Simon, there are women in the army.
Well, okay, if I take your argument and that guy's argument, then you have to hit a woman in the face. Then
say that again, sorry.
If I take your argument and that guy's argument that's just talking there, then that means that you hit a woman in the face.
I should be able to hit a woman in the face?
Yeah, and get the same prison sentence that you get for a man.
I think you do get the same prison sentence if you hit a woman in the face as you do a man in the face.
But it's not right to hit women. You're saying it is right to hit women.
No, I'm not saying it's right to hit women. I'm saying it's no, Simon. I'm saying it's wrong to hit anybody.
I've
not said it's right to hit women.
No. I didn't mean to say that. What I mean is, it's worse to hit a woman than it is to hit a man because they're weaker.
Dorothy's in Northfield.
Dad teach you that?
Dorothy, what would you like to say?
Yes, I'd like to say that no woman should be in the front line. Women are not born to be in the front line. Women can be in the army and doing other things, but not in the front line. In biblical times, both old and new, you've never seen anything mentioned about women being in the front line. It's always men.
What about
and it will remain men.
Joan of
I don't
Arc?
care what women liberation says about this.
What about Joan of Arc?
What?
Joan of Arc.
Yeah, what happened to that?
She got burnt at the stake for being a woman in the front line. Well, it's funny, isn't
I
it?
will laugh. Look, women are not born to be in the front line. If a woman dies,
I've never heard anyone laugh at the fate of Joan of Arc before.
men don't look after children very well, right? So if a woman goes to the front line and she gets killed, that's the end of the family.
Well, hang on.
The children will become
Dorothy,
taken to the
Dorothy,
to homes and that.
Dorothy.
And if a woman dies, the parents lose their daughter.
No, Dorothy. First of all, you said two things that are potentially inaccurate. You said that men don't look after children very well. That's wrong.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. Of course they do.
don't.
What evidence have you got?
No matter what you say, men don't look after children very well.
No, Dorothy, you're wrong. But also you've said...
No, I'm not wrong. I'm right.
No, Dorothy, you're wrong. Trust me. But also you said if the woman goes and fights in the army and she gets killed, then her children won't have any parents. Yeah.
Won't have a mother.
What if she hasn't got any children?
Then the parents won't have a daughter.
I've got no idea what that means. Dorothy, thank you. Simon, stay there. 03453 009956. Can I just clarify for legal reasons? I'm not saying it's all right to hit women in the face. At no point today have I don't think it's right to hit anyone in the face, women or men. Simon, stay there. We'll come back in a second. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It's BBC WM 95.6. Let's get the travel news now. Here's Liz.
Thank you very much, Ian. As you head to Hensford, we're getting reports of an accident on Highmount Street around Greenheath Road near the primary school. Apparently a car's gone into a wall. Police are on the way to the scene, but certainly looking a little bit congested. It's really snarled up around the Burnt Tree traffic lights in Dudley. Slow in both directions on all approaches, or both directions of the A4123, but also the A461 is looking quite congested on the approach as well. Better news in Sutton Coldfield. Those traffic lights seem to be working on the A454 junction with Belwell Lane. Still rather congested in Albury around Birchley Island as you head around there near to junction 2 of the M5. Now expect a bit of congestion in Sutton Coldfield. There's the women's running 10k at Sutton Park. It started at about 10 o'clock. It's going on till about 1, but several hundred runners, so a lot of extra traffic in the area. And also you'll find that there's an abseiling event going on at Snow Hill this afternoon, so expect a lot of traffic all around there, as obviously the abseilers and their supporters as well, abseiling down the side of a building there in aid of Birmingham Children's Hospital. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 Travel 08453 002288.
12 points from the UK go to Denmark.
This month, there's a vote that really matters. The local European elections.
Our political parties are afraid to tell people the truth.
To help you decide, BBC WM 95.6 presents a special debate on the issues dividing opinion.
Should we stay in or out of Europe? The economy, immigration.
There is very little migration in those places as it stands.
In manufacturing here in the region, we have a skills gap.
The Euro election debate, Monday from 11 on BBC WM 95.6.
Don't worry, we will have we'll do astrology next week, I promise. We've just moved it. Cliff in Tipton has emailed, Ian, this Simon who's on at the moment is slowing your show up as he did last week. You've been forced to cancel an item all because of this man who seems to have a problem. And Molly on Facebook says, get this sexist pig off now. Simon, stay there, because we talked about domestic abuse earlier on, and have I got this right? You kind of thought that domestic abuse can really only happen from men to women. It can't quite happen the other way.
Well, it can happen the other way, but it's worse when it happens to a woman, which is the point I'm making.
Why is it worse when it happens to a woman? In a sentence, if you could.
Because if I'm 11.5 stone or 12 stone and I hit I hit a man with my fist, he's more likely he might be able to stand on his feet. But if he hits a woman, she might probably fall over because she's weaker. She's got a weaker bone structure.
Mm.
She's got weaker facial muscles and skull smaller and all that. She's got smaller body.
And so if a woman were to hit a man, what you're saying the man would be able to defend himself better and it wouldn't really count?
Yes.
Okay. Stay on the line, Sam. I want to bring Paul in Sutton in the conversation. Paul, thanks very much for getting back in touch. Okay. Paul, tell us your story, if you would.
I was married for a few years. If I was late home from work, or if it was that time of the month, I used to get things thrown at me. I was given black eyes, smacked a thick lip, punched, all sorts. And a lot of my mates used to say how good for her.
That's a psychological problem with you.
Can you say that again?
That's a psychological problem with you.
It's not.
That you couldn't solve the problems in your relationship. Plus, you had the physical strength to defend yourself.
So you're saying I should have given her the slap back?
No, you could have held her.
Because I'm not like that.
Physically held her, physically restrained her.
You can't. You can't.
Why not?
Because you can't. When a person is like that, they just get the strength from somewhere, and you can't hold them. I used to just walk away.
I don't think you tried hard enough, probably.
Paul,
have you ever been in that situation?
Well, I've been out with different girls and that, and of different personalities and some.
Can you answer my question? Have you ever been in that situation?
No, but
no. Please don't judge people until you have.
Paul, Paul, can I ask you a couple of questions? Simon, hang on a second. I just want to ask Paul a couple of questions. I just want to get a bigger picture of this. How long did this go on for, Paul?
A few years.
And when do you remember when it first started? What triggered it the first time?
I was like home from work.
Yeah.
I'd nothing going on. I used to have a decent job, and I phoned and told her I was going to be home. I've got to do some overtime at work. And I got home. I said, "Where's my tea?" She said, "In the bin." And she said, "The drainer at me, the cutlery drawer." I went to walk away, and she brought a fish round and smacked me in the nose. And I had a nosebleed. And I said, "What was that for?" She said, "Because I felt like it." And that started it. I had doors shut in my face and everything.
How long into your relationship did the violence start?
About 4 years.
4 years. And it went on for a few years.
Yep.
And how did it end?
I left.
Why?
And I was the bad father because I left.
Is that what you think?
No, that's what I was told.
Oh, okay. So, how old were your kids when you left?
10.
Right. And she said that you're a bad father for leaving?
Yeah.
I can understand why you didn't leave after the first, the second, maybe even the third time. Why didn't you leave after the fourth time or the fifth time? Why did it take a few years for you to leave?
Because you got feelings for people.
You still loved her?
I did, yeah. I thought this will be all right, because you do. It's the same as a woman being in the same situation, isn't it? No, it's all right, it's all right, it's all right.
You made up afterwards, and everything was fine again for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it just got to a stage where it wasn't.
And what was, if you don't mind me asking, if it's too personal, then tell me to jog on. What was the turning point where you went, you know what, I've got to go. This cannot continue.
It was just, you just get to a stage where you think, I can't take anymore.
So it wasn't a particularly violent attack, necessarily.
No, it was because it just kept happening. There'd be no warning. It was like just a fuse blowing.
And as well as the physical abuse, was there kind of mental abuse? Were you bullied? Were you controlled? Were you afraid?
With my money, yes.
In what
I
way?
used to go out to work. She didn't work because of the children. And she used to say, I'll give you £10 a week, pocket money. And I used to say, hang on, I've been to work all week and I've earned that. She says, well, your car's full with fuel, all the money's taken out for the bills, I'll give you some pocket money. And then when I stood up to her, she didn't like it.
What's your relationship with your wife and your kids now, Paul?
Zilch. Nil.
Really? How old are your kids now?
I'll give you a rough age.
Yeah.
25.
And you don't have a relationship with them? Do they see you as being a bad dad for leaving?
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that feel?
Not very good when a boyfriend tells you you're just a sperm donor.
Simon.
Yep.
You've heard Paul's story. You've heard the impact it's had on his life, on his kid's life, on his wife's life.
I think it's very unfortunate, yeah. But
having listened to that, can you still say that you think Paul was weak, that he should have stood up to her?
Well, I don't know his personality and...
But you've heard his story. You've heard his story. What are your thoughts? Compared with what you said 15 minutes ago, what are your thoughts about Paul now? And domestic abuse from women to men?
Well, I think it demonstrates that women aren't meant to be violent.
Sorry?
You know?
What?
I think it demonstrates that women are not meant to be violent. Women are,
But how does that demonstrate it? Paul is proof that some of them are.
His wife hit him. That demonstrates that generally women are not meant to be violent. Men have got testosterone for certain reasons. That's the way God made us.
Let's go back to your point about domestic violence coming from women towards men is not as bad as the other way round. Do you still believe that after hearing Paul's story?
Well, because he's physically stronger, he was much more able to get out of the situation and not sustain.
But it's more than Paul. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's more than just the physical strength. There's more to it than just the physical strength that can dominate someone in a relationship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And that's the thing. It's not. It's psychological. And
Simon, listen, we're running out of time. I'm going to let you go. Thank you very much.
Please take him off the phone.
He's gone.
I'm going to say something to him in a minute.
Paul, listen, I appreciate your honesty. Simon's views are, I think, shall we say, unique. I appreciate your honesty, and I really appreciate you sharing your...
It's a good job I'm on the radio.
Okay.
I'm a quiet chap, but...
It sounds like...
I was getting near to boiling point with him.
Well, Paul, listen, I appreciate your honesty, and I'm sure there are a lot of people listening who are shocked and saddened by your story, and I wish you the best of luck in the future.
I don't want them to be, really.
No, of course you don't.
I just want it there. Perhaps someone else will help someone else out in that situation.
I think you've opened our eyes a lot, Paul. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much. Well, there we go. Gosh. There's a story, isn't it? And how can you, after listening to Paul, how can anyone think that domestic violence, going from women to men, is any less serious than men to women? How can you, Paul? I really appreciate that. Adrian's on the line. Morning, Adrian.
Morning. Hi. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting, but I thought we'd listen to that. We've been talking about women fighting on the front line. You've just got back from Afghanistan as a serving soldier, is that right?
Yeah, I have, yeah. I've been in 23 years, and obviously just literally about a week ago got back from Afghanistan. I'm actually shocked, really, to think that your viewers seem to think that women shouldn't be on the front line. Everybody, regardless what job you're employed in within the British Army, you are a soldier first and foremost, and then actually you go out and do your specialist role secondly. And actually, they're a massive integrating part within the frontline troops. I'm infantry. They've worked and fought alongside me. And without them, a lot of individuals would have been killed, unfortunately. and they've been decorated, rightly so. You know, a lot of them got military crosses and such like. And I think, you know, we need to hold our hands up and say that women, they have a vital role and an important role, and certainly I see them no different than men.
If you're on the front line, Adrian, I know it's a slightly old-fashioned phrase. You're on the front line. You're in a gun battle with the Taliban or something like that, and you look to your left and you've got your mate Steve there. You look to your right, you've got your mate Linda there. Would you feel any different about either of them?
Well, I mean, that's human instinct, isn't it? But at the end of the day, you're a professional soldier, so absolutely irrespective of what job you're doing, whether you're a medic or you're an infantry soldier, you are there side by side as your comrade. And at the end of the day, you fight and you take that opportunity and you make sure that all of you, if you can, return back. Doesn't matter what gender you are. You're there to represent this country and be professional at what you do.
How are you finding settling back in after the coming back?
Yeah, it's always difficult, you know, and Afghanistan, I've been there 3 times now, you know. I've been in 23 years, as I've just said to you. It's difficult, and it just frustrates me when you hear, unfortunately, you know, certain individuals seem to think that women don't hold a vital part within the armed forces as much as men. It absolutely amazes me, especially with the job that we've had. Do you know what I mean?
I know. Listen, Adrian, I'm sorry to keep it so short. We're out of time, but I really appreciate your call. Hopefully we'll get longer to speak next time. Blimey, there we go. That was a show, wasn't it? If you want to get in touch with me during the week, you can send me an email, ian.lee@bbc.co.uk. It's IAIN.LWE. I spell them both the proper way. I'm here every Saturday morning between 9 and 12. Lizzie Crowe is coming up next. Do stick around.
With full commentary of every Warwickshire cricket game this summer, exclusively online, bbc.co.uk/WM.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
It's bang on midday. Let's get the news now with Nicole Pullman.
BBC News has learned that senior council officials in Birmingham have seen no evidence of an alleged plot by Islamic extremists to